Well, good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hope everyone enjoyed a weekend of emotionless football viewing. A little bit more emotion surrounding the Orioles viewing.
I was feeling some things seeing Anthony Richardson throw the ball, though.
Oh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the one.
Yeah.
Jesus. What even is that? That is nuts. We'll get into a lot of that this morning. Also, of course, discuss another weekend for the Birds. It is what it is. That's all on the way. But we're going to start today by catching back up with our friend Femi Ayanbadejo. You, of course, know him. Super Bowl 35 Baltimore Ravens fullback. Also, you know him as part of our Press Box Project Game Day postgame show. But as we told you last week, he's also trying to help you make some money this football season. Femi, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Glenn, I am a running back, Glenn. I play the running back position.
Sorry. I've done that before,
all of
too.
it, baby.
I know.
Not a fullback.
I know.
Even though I play quite a bit of fullback. I need to make that correction before we get started.
You know what? We all need to be accountable. And so I appreciate you holding me accountable. And I am told that the biggest jump that you make is from week 1 to week 2. So this is my promise. I'm going to make a bigger jump going into next week. All right? That's a promise.
As will I.
That's a promise. All right, so before we get to how things went for BetYard AI this week, I want to get your reaction just to having like a chance to dissect the rest of the league and like did anything away from betting, away from the data, did anything just jump out at you as you were watching football yesterday?
I mean, I think it's all intertwined. You know what I mean? I do think that there are expectations that I have that lead to outcomes. And when you have a lot of volatility, which week 1 really is, you have penalties, you have contracts, you have injuries, you have sloppiness, you have rookies, you have new head coaches. It's a volatile week. And I think across the board, watching the games, it was very volatile. A lot of teams had leads, they blew leads. Some teams didn't show up at all. Guys that were probably a 6 or a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 this week are normally 9s or 10s, i.e. Cincinnati. So I wish I could say that I expected it to be this volatile, but I didn't. It was even more volatile than I expected. And I think that some of the rules changes also had a role in that. There's a benefit to the rules changes to the offense on the kickoff. But when that team doesn't convert, there's a penalty to the receiving team on that punt. They're starting 10 yards further back than they normally would. So it does even out a little bit in regard to point totals, but it creates a different dynamic that was very obvious to me as a player. I don't know if as a fan people saw it, but it did create something new that is not in the pot yet in regard to predicting games. So I'll leave it at that for now. Does that make sense?
No. It's funny because I felt that a little bit, Femi, like especially in games that were close late. I was like, wow, this team is going to start with the ball on the 30-yard line. Like, they're going to start that much closer to being in scoring position in order to get this job done. Like, that, I know exactly what you're saying, right, is there's a trade-off to that, and the penalty of that is great. But, like, it did feel like that was kind of bold because it does seem like teams are inclined to say, look, man, we're not going to mess around with this thing. We're just going to continue to put the ball in the end zone and deal with it.
Yeah, I did. I saw some teams that tried to get it in the landing zone and missed. So guess what? Those teams started on the 40.
Yeah.
Like I saw that happen a bunch of times too. And then what ended up happening is they ended up punting because they went 3 and out. And then the defending team on offense had the ball inside the 10-yard line. I was like, dude, like there's a benefit to this kickoff thing, but then there's a downside to it too. And you've got to weigh both and not get too caught up in, man, they're starting at the 30. Because it all evens out in the end. So, maybe the scores were under. I mean, there were very, very few quarterbacks that passed over 250 yards this weekend. If you look at the data, like it's pretty bonkers how inept some of the passing was. Some guys had a great day, but a lot of guys didn't perform.
Let me run these numbers by you. I don't know if you saw these from our friend Kevin Ostreicher this morning. The number of times that a team was called for an illegal formation in week 1. The Baltimore Ravens, 5 times. Every other NFL team combined 15 times. Do you think that's because the Ravens just did it more? Do you think that after like Thursday night the NFL said, "Yo, hey, maybe we cool it with all this"? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think that 2 things happened, and I think both are correct, Glenn. It's great insight on your part. I think that the Ravens bore the brunt of being the first team to go on offense in 2024, and they got their ass bit for it. And then I think everybody was watching, and every single offensive line coach and probably head coaching coordinator went into their meetings on Friday and said, guys, they are not messing around. Let's make sure we have our asses up on the line of scrimmage tackles. And so the Ravens took a bullet for everybody else, I think. Doesn't make it okay.
No.
But I do think that the NFL is everybody watches everybody. So I do think the Ravens taught everybody a great lesson going into Sunday.
I think it's a really good point. I also think that there's probably we see this all the time where there's a rule emphasis going into the season, and it just seems like it's too much, and so the league sort of says, all right, maybe not this many times, right? Call it, but maybe don't go crazy with it because we don't really want it to be the storyline that we have coming out of week 1 of the NFL season.
Yeah, it's a combination definitely of maybe the refs swallowing the whistle a little bit, but also the benefit of the Ravens getting their ass chewed almost unfairly to some degree. But it is what it is. The penalty is the penalty. So, I'm not trying to push any conspiracy theories today. I don't do that. That's not my thing.
All right, so let's get into it. How did the week go for BetYard AI?
Man, we didn't perform very well this week, and I think it's because of all the reasons that I mentioned. Last year, I think the early part of the season, last year we did really, really well. We came out of the box hot. I think we're 11-1 in our first 3 weeks of our high confidence picks. And the mistake that I think I made is, one, we had Carolina, which Carolina's trash. Let's not anybody out there, don't bet on Carolina. They constantly never hit the spread. They never do. I thought new season, Bryce Young, second year, familiar opponent with New Orleans. It'll be a good game. And I think most of the country thought it'd be a good game. It was a damn blowout. The issue with Cincinnati, because we had them as well, is the turnovers, no T. Higgins. Jamar Chase was a fraction of his normal self. Joe Burrow looked out of sorts. They had 2 back-to-back touchdowns that could have won. It was the same series one was negated, I guess, because the catch wasn't finished in the end zone by Gesicki.
Yeah, they just say.
And then the other was a fumble at the goal line, and they just couldn't get themselves together. The rest of our games, we did hit the Dallas game, but I think that the Rams game could have went either direction. We had the Rams plus 4.5. You saw what happened in overtime. And there's another game. We had the Vikings and we had the Giants on the over. And basically the Giants have no offense. Literally, I thought Link Neighbors, had they just scored 1 touchdown, we would have hit the over, So I think that just like teams are getting in sync and we're all digesting these new rules, I think there's going to be there's a lot of volatility in week 1 that's more and different volatility than we've had over the previous years. So I think we'll get back on track, but my goal here is to be accountable.
Yep.
And if people have questions, is to show up and speak to the intricacies and the details of why something did or didn't work. The other thing is that I could have easily chosen Pittsburgh as another one of our high confidence picks. I could have also chosen Denver, and I also could have taken Philly in the over, but I didn't. I had 7 games that I could have to pick from. And literally, I could have swapped 3 for the other 3, and we would have been 4-1 this week. You know what I mean? It would have literally been that different, of an outcome, and our whole team and everybody would have felt great. One of the things that we're doing for customers, if anybody that signed up last week, they're going to get another free week this week because we underperformed in a way that we just normally don't. So we're going to give everybody a free week. Anybody that was supposed to get billed this week for 2 of our weekly charged packages are not going to get billed this week.
Wow.
So hey, listen, I'm here to be accountable. Yeah. I know how good we are. And I know that 3 years running, our high confidence picks have hit over 70%. So I think it's all going to work out in the long run, but I just know how emotional people get. And the minute they feel like something doesn't work, they kind of run away.
Sure.
The lucky thing for us is that we expect our customer base to build over the season. And what we don't want to do is give people disincentive to walk away, right? We don't want to provide that. So if you guys are still on board, please go to betyardai.com, sign up, use the promo code NFL30. And remember, everyone that signs up still gets a free week no matter what. So if you didn't bet last week, you didn't sign up last week. And once again, remember, we don't take bets. We're an information company. We provide information. We're not a sports book. We do not actually gamble. That's up to you and how you want to take that information. But for anyone that signs up this week, you still get a free week. And anyone that signed up to get charged for this week coming is not going to get charged.
Wow.
So yeah, betyardai.com, NFL30 for the discount code.
That is what accountability looks like. Wow, that's huge, man. That's awesome. Let me pose one more to you just about what you just told us from what you learned. It sounds like what you're saying is that you expect the data is going to reflect that this really is kind of the story of Carolina, but maybe not really is the story of Cincinnati. That, like, yes, it was a bad day, but it's a bit more circumstantial than that and not likely to be the story moving forward, or it's going to drastically change the way the data views Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think that what ends up happening with a lot of information carrying over from 2023 to 2024 is that you got to start somewhere. And what's going to end up happening, think of the way that ChatGPT, like a large language model, it's only as good as the data that it gets fed.
Yep.
Well, we get fed new data every week, and the 2024 profile of a team is going to take precedent and weighting over the 2023 profile. So right now we're heavily weighted on 2023 profiles, which isn't a problem. We do that every year. It's not a big deal. But I just think this year with the rules changes, we're going to really figure out who these teams are. And maybe Carolina is Carolina from last year still. They looked like it yesterday. The turnovers, the inability to convert on third down, the inability to stop anything deep down the middle of the field. And I think Cincinnati is way better than they played. And if you watch that game, they just could not get out of their own way. And they don't have their full complement of players. So I'm still a little bit bullish on Cincinnati. I'm less bullish on Carolina. But I think what you said, Glenn, is a real good synopsis of kind of where we are from a data gathering exercise and a projection of where things are going to go going forward.
All right, before I let you go, I just want to run this by you because we said we were going to talk about it during the postgame show. You wanted to know the snap count for Derrick Henry. 46% of the Ravens' offensive snaps, Derrick Henry was on the field. Your reaction is still probably game circumstance, and that's I don't think that's the plan necessarily for Derrick Henry moving forward.
Yeah, I expected him. I expect in the Ravens style games where we get a lead and we control, I expect him to play 60% of the snaps.
Yep.
And if the games end up like the game against KC, I expect 40% of the snaps. That's like really right in line with what I expect. What I really wanted to know was about Nate Wiggins, and if anybody had an update on his usage and why he wasn't used more. And this isn't a pejorative thing. I'm not trying to be negative or down. I really don't know, and I've been trying to find information. But I spent, after the Ravens game ended, I spent the rest of my weekend looking at the other 15 games and all that stuff. So
it was only 17 snaps for Nate Wiggins, 31% of their defensive snaps. So
yeah, I expect that to increase, and I'm just wondering if anybody heard Coach Harbaugh or anybody from the Ravens talk about that at all. Just curious.
Yeah, no, he didn't bring it up in the press conference, but that is really interesting, and it's something that he graded out fairly well from Pro Football Focus. They gave him a 76.9 for the snaps he was on the field.
That's solid.
So,
that's solid. Yeah.
It will be interesting to see, right? Is that just a week one thing? Like, is that a matchup? But it's a fair thing that perhaps will be addressed this week regarding Nate Wiggins. All right, betyardai.com. Remind everybody the code one more time, Femi.
Yeah, betyardai.com. The discount code is NFL30. Anyone that signs up this week, unless you buy the full year package, which is a massive discount, there's no no one's getting their money back for that. I mean, you got that already. But for those that are buying any weekly package, you'll get this week free if you signed up, and for anyone that hasn't signed up yet, you'll get a week free as well. So NFL30, betyardai.com.
Awesome, man. Femi, we will talk to you Sunday following Ravens Raiders for Project Game Day. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, question for you guys real quick.
Yes, sir.
Griffin and Glenn, are we going to be doing this Mondays going forward?
We're gonna hammer out what the best time is for Monday.
Okay, cool.
I think it'll be on Monday. We just got to work that out a little bit with some of the other stuff that we have each week. But yeah, okay. I'll be in touch. I promise.
Yeah, and let your audience know. My handle at Instagram is obafemi30. So if any of you want to reach out to me, if you have questions, if you're concerned, man, hey, I'm here to answer everything. I will not run. I will not hide. I'm very confident in what we do. Glenn, thank you for the opportunity, Glenn. I love talking with you, hanging with you. Griffin, always good to see you, my brother.
Love you, brother. That's Femi Ayanbadejo, Ravens Super Bowl 35 champion running back. Get it. Here. Love you, buddy.
Bye.
GCR. That's my guy. All right. Yeah. So a couple things in there because I'm the Cincinnati thing. I had a friend who works in Vegas last week who hit me up and said, by the way, I think I'm going to play New England in one. And I said, you're going to do what?
They're going to pick the Patriots as their...
Yeah, as their team for Survivor. And I said, you're doing what now? And he said, yeah, I think that's what I'm doing for Survivor for week 1. And I said...
He was one of the 0.04% that...
I was like, bro, like... Do you just not want to? Now this is somebody that has like a real role, and I'm like, are you just trying to get out? Like, what are you doing there? Remember, the Bengals were the team that I was like, I don't draft fantasy defenses usually because I just pick up a defense. I was like, the Bengals are the defense I'm playing. It's the Patriots. Look at them. So first of all, it's our actually. I guess I could tell you, it was our friend Aaron Oster from the Circa, who of course runs the Survivor competition.
Here I was patting myself on the back for just not picking the Bengals in
Right.
Survivor. I was like, don't pick them.
Yeah,
I went the Seahawks. So.
Okay, there you go.
So pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, but as long as Bo Nix is going to throw into triple coverage, all good. Yeah. So what did we learn? Maybe do we do picks recap? Is that the way that we do this?
We could.
We could do. We can keep it football centric here in hour number 1. Coming up still today on the program, Mike Golic Jr. will join us, of course, from the Gojo Show, DraftKings. He'll check in with us. We'll get his thoughts on what he saw from the week, and obviously the Ravens. He was in Kansas City on Thursday night. Also this morning we'll talk some Orioles.
We have to.
Brian Anderson was on the call for Roku yesterday. Normally the Rays color analyst, former MLB pitcher. We'll get his thoughts on the...
He's just gonna gloat, is that?
The struggles. All right. I mean, that's not... I don't know. Also, of course, it's Monday, so Jeremy Conn will join us. We'll go 3 up and 3 down. That's all on the way on a Monday edition of the program. And as you heard me mention with Femi, Project Game Day will return this Sunday following the Vegas-Baltimore matchup. You can join us, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stecca, the whole crew. I'm sure Josh will get back in soon. He was in town this weekend, Josh. I wonder if he's still in town. Maybe I should have. I feel bad now. I didn't message him. Kind of a jerk for that. It's that thing where to have a friend, you got to be a friend, right? Not always the best in that department. I try. It's the whole thing. I got kids. It's what it is. But we'll be doing that all season long. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Hope you'll come join us this Sunday immediately following the game. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. So, it was not a good week for your boy.
It was not a good week for
not
anyone.
A good week.
It was a horrendous week, actually, for just about everyone.
Oh, yeah?
There were 2 people who finished above 500.
Oof.
And they probably feel pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, 5-4 week. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh! James Revere and Andrew Stecca with a big 5-4 week. Let's get into it. Wow, KZ really was a lone wolf winner and still didn't go 500.
He went 3 for 3 on the college football games. Then he went 0 for 6 in the NFL.
Yikes. Well, I mean, I know a thing or two about going 3-6. All right, here's the weekend that was. Yes, the Maryland thing. Yuck. Kind of no way around it. I had back and forths with some folks on social on Saturday. There's not a bigger take, unfortunately. Like, I get it. Like, whenever a team loses a game that you don't think they're going to lose and that they shouldn't lose, you want there to be something bigger, and people are like, well, they're just never going to get where we want them to go with. It's exhausting. Dude, I'm as flummoxed by Maryland losing at home to Michigan State. Now, that being said, I do think that Michigan State found something. Like, they've got a freshman receiver that's nuts. Marsh, bonkers. He made Childs look better than I think Childs actually is, but that connection is quite real. Now, I'm not telling you that I think Michigan State's going to be a competitor in the Big Ten, but I do think they're better than they were a year ago, and that we thought they were going to be based on their Week 1 result. It still does not forgive, and I brought this up last week, Maryland had some real defensive issues against UConn, and the number of times that I was watching receivers, just because I was at the game, run wide open that UConn was just not capable of connecting with was alarming, and I said that to a few folks. But I still didn't expect this. I thought that would be cleaned up a little bit. Maryland's got defensive issues that they have to deal with. Still, they're up a touchdown and driving in the fourth quarter with a chance to not only put it away, but a chance to cover. The decision to kick, I disagreed with at 4th and 1. And it's not even about, like, hey, I don't know enough about this kicker to know that I can have confidence in him. And in part, I do wonder if that was part of the reason why Mike Golic decided to kick, is like he wanted to build some confidence in his kicker. But Billy Edwards existed for short yardage situations. I know he's not the specialist anymore for that because he's your quarterback. But, like, you could still put that play in 4th and 1. It was unstoppable a season ago. You're going to say something like, well, it's the risk of somebody getting hurt. That's going to fight decision vehemently. The second time when they decided to punt on 4th down, I don't know that I can disagree with the decision because I acknowledge that, like, you're giving the team a really short field and all of the momentum in the world if you don't convert. But given the way your secondary and your defense was playing at that point, I probably would have been thinking about, if I am going to get the ball back, I need to get the ball back with time left. It's just something that coaches, it's a very difficult thing for coaches to do, to essentially say, we don't believe our defense can get a stop. Like, it's a very difficult thing because it goes beyond analytics and it goes into, like, you have to look those guys in the eye when the game is over. You have to, that's half of your football team is on that side of the ball. And if you make a decision based on, we don't think that the defense can stop them, then that's a tricky thing to do. Ultimately, it's an inexcusable loss, and it ruins any hope of building momentum and building a positive feeling within the community to get you to a point where, like, the mid-season can matter. It would now require you going on some, pulling off some victory no one sees coming in order to get that back. It doesn't mean they're likely to win 4 games this year. They lost by 3 in a Big Ten game. Like, it's not. This isn't losing to, Grand Valley State.
Northern Illinois.
Well, who would do that? Actually, everybody keeps telling me it's so funny. I had a few folks around the country last week who were like, dude, you guys don't realize Notre Dame's on upset alert this week. I still, yeah.
Maybe not the cover, yeah. But
anyway, the moral of the story being, it's a crap loss for Maryland, but there's no next story to it. There's no. Steck and I were going back and forth on Saturday. Like, it feels like purgatory. Well, right. Like, what do you think the alternative is for Maryland football? Like, this is the thing that I do still think that people, like, you guys just keep trying to tell us how good of a job Mike Loxley's doing. Yes, because winning more than 3 games when you're the Maryland football coach is a miracle. You just have to understand how college football works and how that place works. The disconnect between it, it's part of the problem of, like, not paying attention. If we look at the way that we look at Major League Baseball or the NFL or professional sport and try to translate that to college football, then we believe that, like, all teams should have a chance. But if you pay attention, you really should know better by this point. Like, it don't work that way. It's just not reality. And instead of NIL bringing it closer, which the idea of NIL absolutely was initially embraced by the Maryland people because they were like, well, there's a lot of businesses around here. It's a major metropolitan area. Because at the time, NIL wasn't pay for play. It was, see if there's a car dealership that's willing to spend some money on somebody. And any of these businesses, these major corporations in the area, could end up, when it became pay for play, Maryland got screwed because there isn't an infrastructure here for that. Because they're Maryland football. Because there isn't the passion for wealthy people to just throw away money at Maryland football. the way that it exists. Disparity only grew between the haves and the have-nots. And I'm not crying crocodile tears because that's the reality. These guys are worth it. If they can get their money, God bless them. I'm not mad at them. But thinking that the alternative for Maryland football, instead of being a team that can win 7, 8, 9 games per year, would be a team that could win 10, 11, 12 is nuts. The alternative is that they win 2 or 3. That they truly are the dregs of college football.
Like they're Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt actually.
Yeah, that might be good.
Maybe not the argument to be made. But you understand. I understand the point you're trying to make. The alternative is they're Rutgers. That's what people think they are anyway because they haven't been paying attention and noticed that Maryland's won a few games in recent years. They're Duke and non-Mike Elko years. Wake Forest. That's the reality. It sucks. I hate it. I wish it wasn't the case. But to pretend otherwise is spitting in the face of reality. So, yeah, that sucked. All right, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Navy blew out Temple. That was nice.
Yes.
The Towson Morgan game was kind of ugly.
It was very close.
It was not really a pleasant.
All the way to the very end.
But Towson did hold on and get their first win of the season, so they got that going for them. Texas 7.5-point favorites at Michigan. That number could have been 17.5. Yeah, Michigan is a money laundering scheme, as I thought they might be. And what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, probably.
It's just. By the way, Ken was the only person on Michigan State.
Don't give him any pub.
Yeah, I know. Well, he was just picking. He'll do. Now I don't know. Now that he got his one, does he change his thought process? Because if you just keep picking against Maryland, you're gonna get one. He's right about that. But now, did he get his one, and next week he picks Maryland, or I don't know.
I don't
how that
think
works.
so. Why would he pick Maryland?
I don't know. Anyway,
I might not pick Maryland.
I haven't even looked.
They're playing
at Virginia on Saturday.
They're 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Texas throttles Michigan on Saturday. It was never competitive. And, the question of what's the line between what that tells us about Texas and what that tells us about Michigan, I'm inclined to say it's like 60-40 what it tells us about Michigan right now. But, I get it. Part of that is just my natural reluctance to believe in Texas. And based on what they did a season ago and what they've started to do this year, maybe it's time that we start having less reluctance. That might be what it tells us about Texas. Tennessee, NC State, I'm not going to pretend like I spent a lot of time with it. I did turn it on at one point. I didn't know that Grayson McCall was NC State's quarterback. I had no idea. He, of course,
I don't know if he knows either.
Yeah, he was at Coastal when Coastal was really good a few years ago. Anyway, this was never particularly competitive either. 51-10. Tennessee absolutely pounds NC State. We were kind of split on that one. We were kind of split on both that one and the Texas game. Green Bay Philly on Friday night. That was fun. It was a fun game. There were a lot of points scored. The atmosphere was just the crowd was not into it whatsoever.
It looked like they were trying to.
I think this might just be I got to go back and look. Are neutral site games in the NFL just never do you not get electric crowds? Does it require there being
the German crowd was kind of good? Maybe but was that like the Patriots Colts game or whatever?
I don't remember.
That was
I don't remember.
Slog. Where they never are.
Boy, I was getting nervous late. So Philly's up by 2, and they're trying to ice the game away, and I'm like, oh no, what if they run all the timeout and they don't kick the field goal? Oh no. So when they got into I was doing some the best math work of my life as that drive was going on. At what point did they need to get inside the 10-yard line to make sure there was enough time left that they would have to kick the field goal and not just be able to run out the clock? I was doing that on that final drive because I was very nervous about the fact they were only up by 2. Ultimately, they got into the inside the 10-yard line with 2:15 remaining, and I jumped up off my couch. Said, "Hell yeah, brother! Gonna have to kick this ball." So they kicked the field goal. Then, of course, the Jordan Love thing, which sucks. But he's not done for the year.
Yeah, it seems like it's
it was like 4 to 6 week thing.
Yeah, it was a grade 1 or 2 MCL sprain. So
the question is, do they try to sign Ryan Tannehill this week and
Did
try
they
to
already
get
say they
through?
wouldn't? Or
Did
like,
they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Malik Willis will be their quarterback if not, which smells like a great way to not be relevant when Jordan Love returns. That's just no
Well,
offense.
I mean, if he's back in 6 weeks or less, like
that still
and
requires
he's gonna
them to have to
be
try.
like 2-3.
Yeah, I mean, they've already lost
or-
one game. Let's just say that Malik Willis goes 1-4 in that stretch. You're now 1-5. That sounds dumb.
Packers have not reached out or not expected to pursue any veteran quarterbacks, said Tom Pelissero.
Seems like
yesterday.
a mistake, but who am I to judge? Atlanta, Pittsburgh was a 3.5-point line in favor of Atlanta. Yuck. Did I get duped?
I'm going to celebrate this one hard because it was one of my very few
Yeah.
victories.
All right, so you got that going for you. I
Steelers in
guess.
the Tennessee Volunteers.
Gross. Just gross, man. 18 points to the Steelers, all via field goals.
That's already Smith for you.
Unwatchable. And there's Atlanta. All they need is competent quarterback. Well, they didn't get competent.
It's his first game back, you know.
The real question, of course, now becomes if this were to continue for a few weeks, when does the quarterback controversy drum start getting beat in Atlanta? And I don't know the answer to that question. I also don't think it created a quarterback controversy in Pittsburgh. If they really were committed to Russell Wilson, then I think that they will continue. Nothing that Justin Fields did yesterday will change that, but it was just stupid for them to ever be committed to Russell Wilson as their quarterback. So I would suggest that they keep riding it out with Justin Fields, and would appreciate the idea that they don't. That would be good news for me.
The Fox broadcast was doing. The Russ Cam was working hard.
Oh yeah,
They were
kept
cutting him every
kept
play
cutting over to
that they were on
Russ.
offense. They cut the Russ,
Yikes!
and he's there, on his knees. He's wearing his shoulder pads, even though he was the third. He was the third quarterback or something. I think.
Okay.
So it was like
if
in
they're
an
gonna-
absolute emergency.
what
was
a
funny.
what a frustrating one this proved to be. Houston 3-point favorites on the road in Indianapolis, winning by 2. Thanks a lot, boys. Thanks for nothing. Thanks for absolutely nothing. Yeah, to your point, some of the Anthony Richardson throws were cool. Although, like, his line for the day was not very good.
No,
Like,
it was
it's-
9 for 19.
It was basically either he made the most amazing throw you've ever seen in your life, or
They-
it was not a completed pass.
or they didn't run a pass.
Right.
So the Texans ran like 75 offensive plays. The Colts ran like 40.
I didn't. I'm not
It
going to pretend like
was-
I did have it up on Red Zone, but that was an early
Yeah, it was
game,
a
so I
1
was
o'clock, yeah.
working during that window
okay.
too, so I didn't really get to watch.
It was. It was that seems like the Texans' strategy, I guess. Like their defense isn't going to be as good as it was a year ago, and they're just going to have to try to have 40 minutes of possession time.
I decided that I just wanted to pick a dog, so I picked Dallas. I was not inspired by my pick whatsoever. As it turns out, it was the only good pick I made all week. The only one.
I get Texas.
Fine. But that one to me was obvious.
Just because they were an underdog, you felt good.
Yeah, I felt, I don't know. I was like, Dallas shouldn't be dogs on the road in Cleveland. That doesn't make sense. It's so much worse than that. What a disaster the Deshaun Watson thing is. Like, that's
Tom Brady was getting frustrated, like just watching him.
it doesn't look like he knows how to football. And like they have one half of evidence that he might be capable of being a quarterback. Entirely. That's what they've got since they gave him $230 million. Is the second half of course in Baltimore last year. That's it. List of all evidence they have that he might be capable of being a high-level quarterback. It is a mess, man. Dallas rolls, just absolutely pounds the Browns on the road in a game that was not compelling whatsoever for the national TV audience. I, again, was watching Red Zone in the late half, so I heard a little bit of Tom Brady, nothing that stood out to me. It seems like it was very mixed reviews for Tom Brady as an analyst. But, if you were here, you got to watch Washington-Tampa, so you had that going for you, which was nice.
Exciting.
Yeah, Rams-Lions, but they should judge this the way they do soccer. If it goes to overtime, it doesn't count.
So they each get a.
No, it's in betting.
Oh, I see.
And you bet a soccer match, and it goes to overtime. The score that they grade the bet on is the score at the end of 90 minutes. So, like, if you're in a knockout round match at a tournament, and you bet Italy to win, and they win 1-0 in extra time, then you lose your bet.
Gotcha.
Because they graded it at 90 minutes. That's how football should be. If they graded it
So
at 60
you
minutes.
have a plus 3.5.
Yeah, I would have covered here. Post Aaron Donald life for the Rams came at him fast. Yikes.
They threw it 55 times.
Yeah. What's the word on Puka Nacua?
I have not seen an update quite yet.
Okay, that's important. Then I need that answer. It's
Um,
very important. Gonna need
what
to
I can
know
find
what the
here.
deal is. Because playing Terry McLaurin doesn't seem like a great option either at the moment. Yuck.
I haven't seen an update.
All right. Well, he didn't
Not
return
yet.
last night. I know that much. It was bad. Detroit, wins in overtime at home. By the way, how about the broadcast continuing to stick with the "you guys aren't going to believe this, Detroit is good" theme? Like that cold open that they did with Calvin Johnson, where you're like, you're never going to believe it. Detroit's good at football. Like, what is going? Yeah, they've been good at football for 2 years. What are we doing? They ran the ball really well, obviously, when the game was on the line. David Montgomery just absolutely pounded the Rams in overtime, and that was the difference in that one. And then, of course, the Baltimore-Kansas City game we don't need to revisit. So as Griffin points out, not a great week. James Revere goes 5-4. And James, who messaged me last week, like, oh, it just struck me, I'm going up against the best sports minds in Baltimore. Yeah?
And abroad.
Are you? Are you? Because you're in first place, bro.
The best sports minds.
He went 5-4, and so he's now 10-6 for the year. Also, as you pointed out, good bounce back week 4-1. Andrew Stetka, 5-4, now 7-9 for the year. The bad news for him is that puts him right in the middle of the table, which is not good for. If he wants to quit, he can't be middle of the table. He's got to be the top or at the bottom, and then spectacularly avoid losing. It's got to go one way or the other. 4 and 5 weeks for Kyle Ottenheimer and Paul Valley, which in comparison, great weeks. 3 and 6 for myself, Joe Serpico, John Little Rock, Ryan Chell, and Ken Zales. And then 2 and 7 weeks for Jeremy Conn and John Proctor and Griffin.
At least I got 2 wins.
You did get that. You got that going for you.
Not bad. It'd
Nice.
be a lot worse if I went 0-9.
Yeah, James is in first place at 10 and 6. Only person that's now above 500 for the year. This is unlike last year where almost all of us were above 500 except for Jeremy and Griffin. This year we got one. 500, myself, Joe Serpico, John and Little Rock, Ryan Chell. Jeremy and Andrew a game back, Griffin, Paul, and Kyle a game back. And right now, tied at the bottom of the table, Old Man Zales and John Proctor, both 5 and 11. That's where we are for picks. Again, the winner gets some cash. The loser has to get a Brazilian and do Brazil things. And Brazil. That's the story for picks.
And then before we move off of that, did you see Adam Archuleta when you were talking about
Bo
the
Nix? Yeah.
yes.
Oh, he made it. He knew. He knew. He was thrown into triple coverage.
I play it.
Like, if you really, sure, why not?
It's good.
Denver playing with all 3 timeouts. 5:35 left. They're down 13. Knicks.
Oh, no.
Has all day, but it's intercepted. Picked off by Woolen.
Yep. Oh, no.
CBS.
Oh, no, indeed. By the way, the other one that I liked last night was the replay of the John Johnson interception in the Rams-Lions game, where they're showing the replay and, like, the ball. Again, he didn't catch the ball cleanly, but he kept his hand underneath it. And Chris Collinsworth does what every replay person, every analyst does whenever there's a replay. I want that job so badly. I just want to make guttural noises whenever there's a replay. I don't understand how that. Why didn't my guidance counselor tell me that was an option? I just need to get that job assignment.
I don't know, Jim.
A lot of that. All right. When we come back in, we will continue talking some football. John from Little Rock, are we going to be picking all the AFC North games this season? Did we pick?
We kind
we
of
didn't
followed
use
that.
The Bengals game wasn't.
Yeah, we
in our
didn't.
mix.
Yeah, we didn't. Pick.
If we try to stay in tune with what's going on. That part for sure. We've over the years tried to stay in tune with the division. Also, we've picked a lot of games because the division's good. If the Browns are this bad, I'm going to guess we'll probably pick a lot less Browns games as the year goes on. It's that, in part, the teams in the division have been really good. Normally, we just try to pick the 6 best games of the week. Not the 6 most interesting lines, the 6 best games is usually the way that the picks go. And, yeah, oftentimes that's involved. If there's like a tiebreaker, hey, these two games are both, kind of good, then, yeah, we tend to lean towards the division game. But usually it's just we look at it, what are the 6 best games, pick those games. And, for example, like Griffin was looking at the best college games last week and said we should pick Nebraska-Colorado, which proved to be just a great game, Like, really.
Should have done Boise, Oregon.
Really high level. Yeah. Dude, I was trying to stay awake for that one afterwards. Like, I was on the couch kind of nodding off. Like, what's going on here? So, yeah, I mean, like, the division's good, so I'm going to guess that probably going to have some division games.
This week, college football-wise.
Oh, yeah, it's a dog week.
Maybe
like
we do Navy Memphis.
I think unranked teams are involved in both the college game day game and the big – I thought Navy Memphis was the following week. I think Navy's off this week, aren't they?
Oh, are they? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think.
I thought they played this.
I could have sworn.
I'm just looking at top 25. Hold on.
Yeah, it's the following week.
Oh, it
Navy
is.
Memphis. Yeah, we'll do that game next week. This week we'll do Virginia, Maryland, and 2 other games. All right, tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel.
Every time this season at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, every time the Baltimore or the Washington Football Club score a touchdown during home games, Live Rewards members will be receiving $7 in a free slot play. You must have your Live Rewards card inserted directly and correctly into the slot machine and be actively playing in order to receive the prize. But when Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown during home games this season, you get free $7 immediately onto your slot machine. It's valid for slot play only. Adirondack Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When we come back in, our buddy Mike Golic Jr. joins us. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from growing up the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. And, of course, tomorrow night, the Arthur Millette Show kicks off. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road with Arthur and a special guest. Hope you will come join us. We'll be doing it all season long. It's all brought to you by Easy Pass and 1-800-GAMBLER. The Arthur Millette Show, first show of the season tomorrow night, the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road. You can always find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. That's MAULET, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. To find out more, the Arthur Millette Show, first show of the season, is tomorrow night. Make your plans to come join us at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. We will get into baseball conversation coming up in the 11 a.m. hour, including the one man of the match that needs to go up on the board for the weekend. Yuck. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. But let's continue to talk a little more football at the moment. Joining us now, one of our favorites, Mr. DraftKings, Gojo Show. He is Mike Golic Jr., and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me. How's everything going?
Well, I don't know, man. Dude, it's so weird to talk about like what the Ravens did in Week 1 because it's a bummer they lost. But at the same time, like even if they had won, everybody in town would have been, hey, what are they going to do when the game actually matters? And, you know, they lost, but they lost by a toe. So how do you really react to that? It's such a weird thing for me to try to talk about right now, what the Ravens did in Week 1, because there's so many complications to it. But I feel like the biggest one is I think we know they're good. I think we know that barring something unforeseen, they're going to be in the playoffs. And this entire season is like a prelude to, are you finally going to change this narrative?
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's the frustrating part about the caviar problems that the Ravens have arrived at now.
Yeah,
where
it's true.
You're better than 90% of the teams in the league, and that top percent that you're looking up at just happens to be led by the greatest player of the generation in Patrick Mahomes, who you just go out and you see all the time. Like, hey, I'm sure people that go against the Chiefs consistently are starting to get tired of all the breaks they feel like just go the right way for Kansas City continually, but that is where we're at with the Ravens, where what they do in the regular season really doesn't matter. And part of that can be freeing, right? It gives you the opportunity to go out here, try some things with the latest iteration of the roster, and then know, hey, we're going to try and build this like a team like Kansas City does to peak when we get to January and February football.
So I guess how do you become that, right? Short of just having Patrick Mahomes. I know you were down there in Kansas City on Thursday. How do you become that? How do you become the team that plays better in January? What can we take as we watch this season unfold for the Ravens, besides the results and things like Isaiah Likely having breakout games? Those are neat to see. But if we're viewing it in the how will we be more comfortable that this is going to be the team that plays better in January, what should we even be watching for, Mike?
I think being that team requires you understanding your identity, having one of the guys at quarterback, and certainly the Baltimore Ravens do in Lamar Jackson, and then I think understanding and using the time early in the season, because what the first 4 games have become are essentially an extension of the preseason. You got to use that to figure out what else is there. Like, obviously, we've heard all through training camp, hey, the Rashad Bateman stock was what everyone was buying there. We got to see them take more chances in involving Rashad in the game plan to see, hey, is this going to be a guy that we can count on the same way we know we can count on Mark Andrews? Like, I know wasn't the game numbers-wise people expected from him. Maybe the car accident affected things a little bit more, coming off injury last year. There's a bunch of things in there, but when push comes to shove, you know what Mark Andrews is in that offense. Isaiah Likely, same thing. Can this be consistently who he is as Mark Andrews' role increases there? All of those things, you've got to do that experimenting early in the season that I think the Chiefs especially do a great job of, like they did last year with that receiver room. Hey, we're going to take our lumps early on, and we might lose a couple more games than we want to in the name of really trying to stress test the more unproven pieces on both sides of the ball for us.
So let me cover a couple things in there, right? Because, Mike, I feel like one of the things that we were asking ourselves this season is, could Derrick Henry be the difference maker? And they didn't get into a place on Thursday night where they were able to play like bully ball the way that we're used to seeing the Ravens do it. I guess I'm going to ask this question more broadly. Is that the best way to go about trying to be a Super Bowl winner, is to say, hey, we want to be the team that we are, where now Derrick Henry can be on the field. He was on the field for 46% of their snaps. He can be on the field for 60+% of the snaps, and he can be wearing teams down. Or do they need to be in more situations like that? Because ultimately the way to beat the Chiefs isn't to try to force your way of playing football, but to be better when you have to play their brand of football, and you have to go down and score, and you have to match them that way.
I think the answer, and honestly, this is kind of a cop-out, but the biggest secret in the NFL is you've got to be able to win however is necessary.
Yeah.
And we know it's that old Belichick line where he was always going to take away the thing that you did best, but it's true. When you get to playoff football, the game plans are even more bespoke. They're even more well thought out by these great coordinators who have had all year to maybe hold a few things back. These better teams hide some things that they want to use then and bust out the fine china when it comes to postseason time. So I do think it's by that time having figured out, hey, if we have to go to plan B or God forbid plan C, do we have that fleshed out well enough to be able to call upon that? It's the same way, like when you go through the offseason program in the NFL, you put in the entirety of your offense. You go through OTAs, you go through the NFL mini camps, you go through training camp, and you put everything in so that when it comes to the season, you've got a whole spread that you can just sample little bits from when you need them for a given matchup, for a given game, for a given week in the season. You got to do that with your roster over the course of the season. And for Baltimore, a lot of what that's going to hinge on is this offensive line that they absolutely had the game plan specifically around in this opening game because it was so new, because it was so young, and you saw the warts of that. And so that's going to go the longest way, resetting that foundation and how Baltimore chooses to do that.
He is Mike Golic Jr. He's with us here on GCR. Mike, how confident are you that the story of what we saw on Thursday night is either a combination of the bizarre nature of the whistles and the penalty calling but more what you allude to, that it's a new group coming together and that it will be fixed and this won't continue to be a storyline for the Baltimore Ravens by like the midway point of the season?
I'm pretty confident. Like, I trust the pieces they've got there, but they're just all so green coming into this right now. I mean, you saw poor Roger Rosengarten comes in his first play. Chris Jones comes over and decides he's going to baptize him into his church, which Chris Jones basically did all night. He basically walked around, picked out whichever guy, whether it was Falele or Rosengarten or whoever, and decided who he was going to try and beat on any given snap. That's a tough way to start your season if you are that new group. But it's also one of the hardest challenges you'll see the whole year. And so it's a lot of great stuff to learn from. I trust the institution there in general that's done a good job developing offensive lines through the changes that have gone on around Lamar Jackson in the past, that they're going to be able to get that group in the right place. Because, again, you've got a group around it where, hey, you've got a tight end room that helps out with that. And being an offensive lineman, having multiple tight end formations can help make your life easier. Having a mobile quarterback that takes the edge off the defense helps make your life easier. Having a running back like Derrick Henry who can churn out yards after contact on his own helps make that life easier. So I'll go back to what I said before the season, which is Baltimore has all the pieces to make an offensive lineman's job a lot better and a lot easier, and I think that's going to benefit them a lot as they do that team building this first quarter of the season.
All right, let me just have this quick conversation. I want to ask you about a couple other things. There are these narratives, and I am so bored by them, Mike, related to Lamar Jackson, and this is his kryptonite, someone might say, is playing the Chiefs, or this is part of the story with Lamar Jackson. He's really good, but then he'll miss a throw in the big. I find it all so boring to me. I feel like we have the answer on Lamar Jackson. He's a great quarterback. He's a two-time NFL MVP. Every two-time NFL MVP is in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know that he's guaranteed his spot yet, but he's damn well on the way. He hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. I think he could, but Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, so it's not a guarantee that every great quarterback will. it's bizarre to me that we continue to still force these like narratives related to Lamar Jackson when it seems like it really is simplistic as he's a damn good quarterback. He may or may not win a Super Bowl. We're going to have to wait and find out.
Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy is what comes to mind when these conversations come up. Like, you're dealing with the problem that people had for years when Michael Jordan was playing, when the Eastern Conference was run by LeBron James in Cleveland and Miami all those years. There's a bunch of great players whose career story just won't be told as broadly because they happen to run in at a time where someone else that was just better came along the way. Quarterback's a vanity position, though, for fan bases. Like, that's why people get all up in arms. That's why we have QAnon down in Miami.
Right.
Because fan bases look at the quarterback and say, hey, we understand the importance of this position and how many other problems it can solve for us. And saying we have an answer, not only an answer, but the answer. We have the best answer is something every fan base likes to hang their hat on. So I'm with you. Lamar Jackson is the solution. He's not a problem. He's not a part of the solution. He is the solution. For Baltimore this year especially, it's just going to be creating an environment where he doesn't have to be 16 carries for 122 yards, largely on scrambles, bailing the rest of that team out, down in and down out, because they couldn't protect him as well as they have in the past.
I appreciate exactly how you just said that, man, and it's what it is. And I don't know. I'm not the guy for it, but God, every time I see it, I just sort of like cringe. Like we're doing this again, huh? This is what we're doing. Oh, fun. Way to go. I brought up the penalties. It was interesting because over the weekend there were dramatically fewer illegal formation penalties called in NFL games. Do you feel like it was either that teams got the message from what happened on Thursday or that the NFL said, hey, maybe we went a little bit too far with this and it shouldn't have been a talking point coming out of a football game, so let's maybe rein it back a little bit and make sure we're not doing that?
Yeah, I would guess it's probably a little bit of both in that, but we know in recent history with the NFL, anytime you get these points of emphasis, it's usually a couple of games or a weekend that are full of flags at that extent that ultimately give way because the product is an eyesore. And if you're the NFL, you certainly understand there's a fine line between, hey, wanting to go out there and set a tone in a way that impacts the game, but also not wanting to mess with the viewership that's made you all very, very rich. So I do think an interesting point that got brought up specific to the Ravens, though, because it did seem ridiculous. And in a game with Jawan Taylor on the other side, who was the poster for this last year for Kansas City and all the snap infractions that went on there, Jason Kelsey pointed this out. Part of this with Ron is also Ronnie Stanley's unique posture in his pass protection stance. And it's supposed to be about the position of the helmet, not necessarily the position of the hips and yada, yada. And Ronnie, a little bit more of an upright guy when he's in that 2-point stance, getting ready to pass protect. I do wonder how much that kind of played a factor into this in a way that it probably shouldn't have.
The three other teams in the division, it was a weird weekend in the AFC North, right, where the team that looked the best was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they didn't score a touchdown. The Browns were an utter disaster, and the Bengals were just really confusing. Did we actually learn anything about these other teams in the division this weekend, or is this week one in the NFL, and let's not get carried away talking too much about it just yet?
I tend to side with the latter on that one. I mean, going bullet for bullet point here, Pittsburgh's been juggling quarterbacks all preseason, and it seems like that's going to extend in the regular season now that calf keeps lingering for Russell Wilson. The offense, really young up front, not a ton of weapons, so it's going to be how much they can cobble together with either Justin Fields' mobility or the benefit of Russell's experience, but all of them really are contingent on, hey, can TJ Watt keep doing exactly that on the other side? Because he wrecked that entire game plan. The Steelers' defense still looked legit. So when I think of it relative to Baltimore, that's what I look at is, hey, Cincinnati still looked like they were willing to give it up front defensively in a way that wasn't true 2 years ago, was true last year, and made their season a lot harder. Joe and the offense are going to get it figured out, but was it stabilizing the safety room going to have the trickle-down effect on the rest of that run defense that would allow Cincinnati to be competitive? And then for Cleveland, their offense a mess right now, banged up on the edges of that offensive line. I don't know if Deshaun Watson's ever going to get back close to the form he had before, but that defense is still something that for the Ravens, thinking about your guys' stuff, hey, as long as that offensive line for the Ravens is coming together, Pittsburgh and Cleveland are going to be able to give you problems. Cincinnati's the area where I think right now for the Bengals, Baltimore represents a pretty bad matchup given your current skill set.
The Coca-Cola Oreos are available today. Have you tracked any down yet? And is there any chance they're actually good, or are they just going to be a sugary mess?
No, I'm sure they're good. Like, listen, you're going like a sugar on sugar combo, so you're not reinventing the wheel on this. It's when you got to go sweet and savory that mix that all of a sudden you start to raise the flag. But I haven't had them yet.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like it's too much. Like I feel like at some point, to me, the definitive Oreo is the blueberry pie Oreo. Like they should stop making Oreos and just because it's so light and perfect in the combination that it works. When you're doing too much and just shoving it like I'm not 6 years old. I can't take this much. And that's what I worry that the Coca-Cola Oreos are going to be.
Well, see, I've learned a lot about you now, given your choice. You and I have very different palates. I am a 34-year-old, 6-year-old who has the kind of palate that could absorb not less sugar, but more sugar and less other flavors involved. So I'm going to go try and find it and track it down. I'll get the review up. I will do this work so you don't have to. That is my charge and my duty to the rest of the nation.
This is where you and I are most similar because we're definitely gonna end up trying them as well. Like I gotta know. Like I have to know. This is America that we're living in. Imagine walking around not knowing what a Coke flavored Oreo tastes like. What is the point of freedom if you don't do that, right?
Nope, I couldn't agree more. This is why we pay all these taxes and do everything else. It's not to, fund a military or privatized healthcare. It's to make sure that we get the right Oreos.
I love you, man. You're the best. At Mike Golic Jr. on Twitter. Gojo Show every day. Make sure you're checking it out. Part of the DraftKings Network. Anything else I can plug for you, brother?
I'm calling games for Turner Sports this year. Mountain West football, if you want to check it out the next few weekends. Going to be on the road at Fresno State this upcoming weekend here. Looking forward to that. Had Georgia Southern at Nevada this last weekend. Pumped to be back in the booth on TV. We're on True TV, so plenty of great stuff over there. The Mountain West and Turner on TNT Sports doing a lot of really good stuff.
When you get a San Jose State game, give a hug to my guy Ken Niumatalolo, literally the greatest human being I've ever come across, who still will just text me regularly just to tell me he loves me and he's thinking about my family. That's what a human being that guy is. So when you get a San Jose State game, give him a big hug for me if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Coach Ken is one of the best. Unfortunately, I had to lose to his Navy team a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, right.
If there's a guy that you feel good about losing to and a guy you feel good about being at the helm for a group who is a true leader of men, it is 100% Coach Ken.
That is the guy. And by the way, I wasn't even going to try to bring up Notre Dame. I know that had to be a painful thing for everybody. But what a man. Speaking of great men, we got to know Coach Hammock while he was here in Baltimore. That's a man, too. And so that was a neat moment for him. All right, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hopping on with us, man.
Yep, thanks for having me. Have a good one.
Mike Golic Jr. with us here on GCR. Whew. I'm inclined to agree with his assessment of what we've seen so far in the division. I'm not going to overreact to any of it, although I do. The Browns are the one team that you're like, maybe this really is just utter disaster. Rita picked them to win the division. I looked at her. I was like, what? Like, I know the defense is great, and it is. It's great. It should be great. I guess it wasn't great yesterday. But like I don't see it. I don't see it at all. What's the story on Joku? Did we get an update on him?
No, outside of the 17 that they sent yesterday, I don't think so.
The sleeper app is having some. I have Jake.
It was weird because it was only Jake Ferguson and David Njoku. It did it.
Just 18 times on Jake Ferguson,
which was the same game too. Which was
apparently Kenneth Walker. They also did it with. Apparently,
they did.
It also happened.
They sent out a tweet yesterday as well. They said we wanted to just let everyone know that Kenneth Walker, Jake Ferguson, and Njoku.
Everybody already knew.
They said fear to have a high ankle sprain.
Okay,
David Njoku. They haven't, and nothing else has come out, but high ankle sprain is what they said afterwards.
All right, very good. What's our schedule? What are we doing?
At 11:15 will be our
talking
next
to Brian Anderson at 11:15. So quickly, I'll put up. This is really difficult. All right, let's both do man of the match, and we'll do 3 up and 3 down. All right, so you want to hit the thing?
Yeah.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
The internet loves this noble tiger thing. It's no outs, bases loaded, ending with team incapable of getting easy run. So it's apparently what you're supposed to call it when a team has the bases loaded and nobody out and they don't score a run. It was the flip side on no outs, bases loaded, ending with team incapable of getting easy run. No outs, bases loaded, ending with team incapable of getting easy run. Noble Tiger.
Got it.
And so it's supposed to be derogatory for the team that fails to score, but it'll get used for a pitcher that comes into a situation like that and manages to get the job done. It's a unique statistic. It reflects that this is different than other clean innings you might have. Dean Kramer was really good on Friday night and obviously could have been man of the match. But when something I talked about this before, when something extraordinary happens, someone hits a grand slam, if you have a 3-home, it's very difficult to ignore those things. And to me, a Noble Tiger qualifies as extraordinary. And in a game that was 2-0 at that point, and that was the moment in the game, Yennier Cano came in with the bases loaded and proceeded to strike 2 dudes out and get out of the inning without allowing a run. Yennier Cano, for the first time this season, is man of the match because of it. It doesn't mean that Dean Kramer wasn't very good on Friday. He was very good. Very good. But he didn't do a Noble Tiger. Yennier Cano did the Noble Tiger, and that's enough for him to get his first man of the match of the season. I had a couple people that are like, dude, you're trying too hard. But for the most part, people seem to agree with me, which was weird because nobody ever agrees about anything. But it's coming into a bases-loaded no-out situation in a 2-run game and doing what Yennier Cano did, that's massive. Now, let's add the other men of the... Go ahead. Hit the thing.
Three up.
And 3 down.
We are giving away a $50 gift card to Casa Inn today if you want to participate in 3 up and 3 down. We got that going for you. I went to the Casa Inn on Saturday. It was wonderful. Happened to be over on that side of town for my kids' soccer match. I said, well, don't mind if I do. Stopped in for some cream of crab soup and got the jalapeno crab poppers. The boys were stuffing their face with hot fudge sundaes as well. God, I love Casa Inn. CasasInn.com is the website if you want to find out more. All right, 3 up and 3 down for the week. We begin on the up. Of course, at Glenn Clark Radio if you want to get in with your 3 up and 3 down. The up, my number 3, Cade Povich, obviously pitched in the 8th inning, was brilliant against the White Sox, and I know it was against the White Sox, but it was brilliant. Cade Povich is my number 3.
I wasn't sure what order I should go with all the guys. Cade Povich, I guess just because it was the White Sox, I decided to leave him off the list.
Fine.
So Cedric Mullins is my number 3.
Cedric Mullins is much higher on my list.
For a very good week offensively when no one else. Well, there was one other guy, but when no one else was doing anything at the plate. So Cedric Mullins.
Gunnar Henderson's my number 2 at a 1297 OPS this week. Good to have him back.
Dean Kramer was my number 2. Just for the circumstances of, we thought his wrist was broken, in Colorado, and then to come out and not allow a hit for 6 for 6 innings, obviously did load the bases right away.
Well, he did allow a hit,
or
he had 2 hits. But
well, yeah, I know but through the 6th.
Oh,
inning,
you're
right?
saying into the 6th?
Yeah, into the 6th inning.
Okay.
Yeah. But he did allow. But yeah, Dean Kramer was great. So Dean Kramer, my number 2.
Dean Kramer was really good. It didn't make my list, but it was really, really good. And Yennier Cano was really, really good. Cedric Mullins was awesome. Cedric Mullins was incredible. Cedric Mullins was better than Gunnar Henderson this week. Cedric Mullins finished with a 1342 OPS for the week. 1342. Cedric Mullins is number 1. And as a lot of people have pointed out, it's fair to question maybe if it's time to move him back up in the order, given somebody who's going to be on the other list.
Gunnar is my number 1 for being Gunnar.
On the down, Albert Suarez is number 3. It's just so much worse because it was the White Sox.
I decided not to put Big Al just because of how bad the offense was, and I felt like the offense deserved all the negative points this week. So Ryan O'Hearn was my number 3 because he's not been good. The story of the week, I think, or at least the weekend, I guess, after Tuesday was just how dormant this offense has been. So Ryan O'Hearn has been a big contributor to that because he's not contributing.
I hear you. That's like I don't know why
his on base is like 290. Is like below 300 for the week.
I understand.
OPS was
his OPS was above. I would be surprised that you put him on the list and not Colton Cowser on the list. Like that seems a little. It's fine. Like neither one of them was particularly good, but it's just a little odd to me. Number 2. And by the way, it's why neither one of them made my list. Like they were both not great, but there were two guys that were worse.
Cowser got on base 2 more times than O'Hearn, and that was where my hair splitting was.
Okay. All right. He also struck out 2 more times than Ryan O'Hearn. It's very weird. Number 2, Jackson Holiday. It's bad. It's bad. Golden Tee Golf did not save Jackson Holiday, unfortunately. Number 2, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, Jackson Holiday as well. It feels like he's reverting back to April almost. He's not striking out nearly as much, just only when he has guys on base. So, yeah.
I mean, he struck out 6 times last week.
Yeah.
Just bad, man.
I feel like he would strike out 10 times.
Oh, okay. That's the comparison.
So yeah, he's a little bit better.
And look, man, Adley's number 1 because Adley's number 1, and I don't think that requires a whole lot of explanation. It's just not a lot of fun, and there is no justifying him continuing. Like, if you want to say that he still works at bats and that he's still productive in that way, you can say it, but like he still only got on base at a 296 clip last week, even as he's working some at bats and finished with 4 walks. And maybe there were a couple of strike 3 calls that were close, but like he's just not hitting. Like he's not hitting whatsoever. No way around it. Adley Rutschman's number 1 for the week.
Yes, I agree. Adley Rutschman.
We'll get it up at GlennClarkRadio.com. 3 up and 3 down for the week of Orioles baseball. Mondays moving forward, we'll do both things. We'll both do Pats on the Ass and 3 up and 3 down. And if you get in for either one of them, you'll be registered to win the $50 gift card to the Costas Inn. So you got that going for you, which is nice. I had some Costas Inn going for me this weekend, and it was really, really nice. It's a bummer. I don't know what else to say about the Orioles offense. We had hoped that maybe the White Sox would be the thing that would cure it. It didn't cure it. They got their confidence back for a game, and then has been miserable for the 4 games since. It's awful. It's awful. The biggest takeaway that I would have at the moment is that we got to stop with the Adley Rutschman hitting second in the order thing. Like, it's just there's no defense of it. And it was always, hey, he's a switch hitter. You like having that option behind Gunnar Henderson so that at no point can someone pitch around Gunnar Henderson. The problem is now it doesn't matter what side of the plate he's hitting from. He's not hitting. So the value of him being a switch hitter is negated. There is no value if he's not hitting. So I think that's the only big takeaway that I have is that that's got to change. You can't just keep sticking Adley Rutschman out there and hitting him in the number 2 hole and hoping that he becomes Adley Rutschman again. Like, you got to – this is as silly as letting Craig Kimbrell continue to close if he can't close anymore. Like it, and I don't think that Adley Rutschman's never going to hit again. It's just you can't deny what's going on in the moment. When we come back in, we will talk to Brian Anderson, get his thoughts on what's going on with the Orioles after he was on the call for Roku yesterday. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, and Luke Jackson will be talking baseball coming up this afternoon. You can watch it live, 4 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, see it later tonight, tomorrow morning, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
The next Arthur Millette Show is Tuesday, September 10th at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road. It's brought to you by Easy Pass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Of course, high school sports season well underway at this point, and every score for every sport, every team all across the state, you can find it by going to countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, which is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Not just football, soccer, field hockey, volleyball, every sport, every team, everywhere across the state. Get all of the scores, plus polls, plus news, plus schedules, everything that you could possibly need to know about high school sports. You can find it at countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. This man was in Baltimore this weekend with the Rays, and then he worked yesterday's game for Roku in the national broadcast with our friend Melanie Newman. He is former MLB pitcher, Mr. Brian Anderson, and he's with us now here on GCR. Brian, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course. Would have it no other way.
Brian, can you solve what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens offense? Can you figure this out for us and make it make sense? I said Ravens, of course. We're in that weird part of the year where we're talking a lot about two different sports, Brian. I apologize. Can you solve what's going on with the Orioles offense?
Well, and your listeners probably aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm a Cleveland guy. I'd like to know what's going on with the Browns.
Fair,
in for a long. Yeah, I think they're in for a long year. I really do. I think Deshaun Watson, I think his best years have passed him by, and they are stuck with him. And I don't see it. I think it's gonna be rough. Anyway, getting back to baseball. Listen, we talked to Brandon Hyde yesterday, and it was really interesting because he's like, we haven't played our best baseball in a couple of months. And he said, and runs right now are very difficult to come by. And I think that the feeling, and he kind of said this in his post-game press conference yesterday, kind of opened the eyes of Melanie and I, where he said, I think we've got too many guys taking too many big swings. And then he specifically mentioned Cedric Mullins, because if you remember, in yesterday's ball game, there were two Orioles that had hits. Gunnar had 3. Cedric Mullins had 2. That was it. They were the only 2 guys in the lineup that had hits. And Mullins, both of his hits were on off-speed pitches that were down in a way where he was just trying to put the ball in play and was able to flip a couple in. And Brandon Hyde made a point to point that out, almost like a message to his team. Hey, guys, you don't always have to swing for the fences. We can move runners. We can have a 2-strike approach. We can cut down on some things.
to try to get the offense going. But he made it abundantly clear that I think that he thinks that his lineup is maybe pressing and maybe trying to do too much.
So I think one of the topics that has been interesting to fans recently, the particular struggles of Adley Rutschman in the second half of the season, which have been just wretched. I know that the thought process of Adley Rutschman hitting second in this lineup, the value of having a switch hitter behind Gunnar Henderson in particular, you don't want anyone to be able to pitch around Gunnar Henderson and get to a good matchup, and Adley Rutschman protects you. But it feels like it's gotten to the point, Brian, where it's so bad with Adley Rutschman that there's just no value to the fact that he's still a switch hitter. He's not hitting. So, like, is it right to say that at some point, no matter what someone has done in the past and no matter how valuable having a switch hitter is, that maybe it's time for there to be movement in this lineup and that Adley Rutschman can't continue to be getting this number of at-bats while he is this unproductive?
Yeah, I think that is fair game on any team, in any player, in any situation, when it gets that bad. I will tell you this. I think that Brandon Hyde is holding on to Adley in that spot, at least up till now, because of his reputation. Because I will tell you this, as much as he has put down a resume and a highlight reel, and everybody knows what he's capable of doing, even those guys, when I was playing, you would have a really good hitter. Let's say Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken Jr. was in a really, really tough stretch where he just could not get anything accomplished, offensively. You still, as a pitcher, took him very serious because at any point he can break out and what he's capable of doing. And I think that that's why Adley has stayed in that position, because at any point he can break out and what he's capable of doing. So pitchers are still going to pitch him very tough, and they're going to give him a lot of respect no matter the struggles right now. Now, I think that there is there's an end date to that. And for the betterment of the player, you may have to move him out of that spot and give him a little bit of room to breathe, because Adley knows why he's there. He knows that he's struggling, and maybe now it's started to get into his head a little bit. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but I know that anytime you're in a prolonged struggle, the mental part of it can be very difficult in this game.
Here's Brian Anderson. He's with us here on GCR. Brian, we have spent the last few weeks as the Orioles have been mired in this, and I don't know what you want to call it, because it's not like they've been disastrous. They've just been about a 500 baseball team for a long time. And we've said all the right things like, hey, that you just got to get in, and they're getting all the pieces back, pitching-wise in particular. They're going to get Grayson Rodriguez back, and that'll be helpful. And there are still, there's still bullpen help coming, and Jordan Westberg should still be coming, and that'll be a good thing. But is there enough to overcome just how kind of sleepwalky it feels, right? Like, is this still the core of a team that can win a World Series right now, or do they need to look the part a little bit more and have that confidence built back up by the midway point of September in order to believe that that's realistic?
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think that the teams that you see, get on a run in the playoffs are closing the month of September strong.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely do you see teams just all of a sudden flip a switch. I mean, maybe you could say the Texas Rangers last year, because remember, all they had to do was win on the final day of the season against Seattle, and they win the division and they get the first round bye. Instead, they lose 1-0. They don't even score. They lose 1-0, then have to jump on a plane and fly all the way to Tampa to play the Rays in the wild card. And what'd they do? Well, they wiped out the Rays and then just went on a run right through the playoffs. So maybe you could make them as an example that someone didn't go into the postseason, strong, but they turned it on at the right time. I think that that's a dangerous strategy. I think that you want to be playing your best baseball coming down the stretch, so you do have that confidence, going into the postseason. And on a side note, I'm gonna give you a stat that kind of blew me away. I didn't realize this, but since July the 1st, so we're going back a ways. We're going pre-All-Star break. Since July the 1st, every single team in the AL East has a losing record.
That is kind of wild.
Are
isn't it?
under
that is,
500.
That
yeah,
is wild.
It was a couple nights ago. Where the Yankees and Baltimore were both at 500. but then Baltimore lost the last 2 games of that series against the Rays. And I know the Yankees lost yesterday that kept them a half game back. But I think, it's either every team is under 500 by a game or two, or there might be one 500 team. It might be New York, possibly. But regardless, a couple of days ago, every single team in the division is mired in the same thing. And really the only 2 that matter right now are New York and Baltimore, but they just cannot get out of their own way right now. They've been a 500 team for a couple of months, both of them.
Yep, it has been really weird, man. It's been a really weird race to the finish line in this division. Brian, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Zach Eflin, who obviously pitched on Saturday, and ironically, it might have been his worst start as an Oriole. Still, for 6 starts now, we have seen someone who hasn't allowed more than 3 runs in a start, hasn't allowed more than 1 walk, which I know you guys told us, like, that was what you were getting in Zach Eflin. Like, he doesn't walk anybody. It's remarkable. At times, he's looked like a viable ace for the Baltimore Orioles. And in a post-Corbin Burns world, I've wondered, like, I guess twofold. Is there really a chance that, like, Zach Eflin might be the Orioles' best bet to be, like, the Game 1 playoff starter at the end of the year? And is it possible that Zach Eflin is that good that, like, next year, if Corbin Burns is gone, you could be okay with Zach Eflin as being the top guy in your rotation?
You know what? Listen, if he continues to pitch like he has, since coming over, and I know that he had a rough one or a rougher one the other day against the Rays, but before that, 5 starts, 5-0, an ERA at sub-2. I mean, he was absolutely dealing. He continues to pitch like that. Yeah, you almost have to throw him out there in Game 1. I mean, if he finishes as strong as he has started, and then looking to next year, I would think that Mike Golic would be fine having him be the opening day starter. But I also think that this is a team that would probably look to have him as a 2 or a 3 and go out and get it. Now, listen, those guys are really hard to come by.
Yep.
If you were stuck with Zach as your number 1 guy, that's totally fine. You build the rotation behind him, and certainly they have, the pieces there when they finally all do come back to have a really strong rotation. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think that this team is in such a win now mode with this core of young players that they are going to leave no stone unturned trying to bring in the very best that they can for that rotation, because ultimately that's where it lies. I mean, offense is going to be up and down over the course of a year, but you need a consistently good and deep pitching staff to win in October. And so that's what they'll be looking to build. But certainly you could be a lot worse off if you had someone other than Zach taking the ball on Game 1, especially if he continues to pitch like he has as an Oriole.
He's been unbelievable, man. And the not walking guys, it's almost like mesmerizing to watch, Zach. Like or Brian, I'm calling you Zach. Like it almost is mesmerizing to watch. You're like, how does he do this? How is it that he's so capable of not losing? It is amazing watching how consistent he is with not walking batters.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about command, having a repeatable delivery and being hell-bent on not beating yourself. Hey, if the opposition's going to beat me up and have a better day than me, that's one thing, but I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to help them. Now, there are times where you may get into a game situation where you pitch carefully around a guy, and in your mind, you're like, if I walk him, no big deal.
Right.
I'll get the next guy, and that happens from time to time. But just the free pass. So look what happened yesterday. Look what happened yesterday in the ball game. You get to the 6th inning and a leadoff walk. That's frustrating. And then all of a sudden, maybe you're kind of ticked at yourself for walking a leadoff runner or walking a leadoff hitter to start the 6th inning of a scoreless game. And all of a sudden, your concentration's not there on the next hitter. Boom, you hang a slider, and it's 2-0, and that ends up being the game.
That's a great
and that
point.
was all spurred by a leadoff walk, and that's something that Eflin has done a great job of staying away from.
He is Brian Anderson, back with the Rays, I'm assuming moving forward, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we are in Philly right now for 3, and then to Cleveland for 4. These last 2 road trips, we will have been on the road. We will have played, I think, 20 out of 26 or 20 out of 27 on the road in our last 2 road trips, 2 10 gamers. It's been a long run.
But yet you say those teams, and I'm like, yep, those are confusing teams as well. Like those are 2 other teams that I can't figure. It's just where we are at this point. It's why, as down as we are as the way the Orioles have played, it's like who's really prepared to take advantage of this? Who really has been that consistently good? And there are very few teams throughout baseball that have done it. Brian, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for hopping on with us and spending a couple of minutes talking with us this morning.
Of course. Anytime. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and we will catch up, I'm sure, at some point.
No doubt about it. Thank you, brother. Brian Anderson, former MLB pitcher, of course, was on the call for Roku yesterday as the Orioles lost the rubber match against the Rays 2-0. All of their offense, all 5 of their hits coming from the same 2 guys. It's what it is, man. It's what it is. I hate this. I really hate this. Because I also want their hi, Glenn Clark, talk show host. When things aren't going well, you want there to be big statements to make. It is better when you can make some big statement. And I don't know what the big statement is. The best I have for you is I'm in agreement with everyone who thinks that Adley Rutschman shouldn't be hitting second. That's the best I got for you. I don't think Adley Rutschman should still be hitting second. Brian Anderson makes a fair point, right? That, like, pitchers still know what Adley Rutschman is capable of. But I think you need production right now. Like, it's part that you want to protect Gunnar Henderson, but it's also if Gunnar Henderson, like yesterday, is going to give you 3 hits, you want the guy behind him to be able to do something with that. So, to the point, if pitchers still respect Adley Rutschman, then that might help in protecting Gunnar Henderson, but it won't help in taking advantage of Gunnar Henderson. Corbin Burns was, again, better yesterday, but he put 9 guys on base over 6 innings. Again, I don't need to be a mathematician in order to know that's a 1.5 whip. That's not good enough. So we can say, yeah, he only gave up the 2 runs, and like it certainly isn't Corbin Burns' fault that the Orioles lost yesterday. They didn't score any runs. Here's one thing I'm not a mathematician, but I do know is fact. You cannot win a baseball game in which you don't score a run. Can't happen. Ever. So I'm not down on Corbin Burns yesterday, but I can't pretend like he was great either. He was better than the brutal stretch that we had seen from Corbin Burns. And hopefully is figuring some things out that might allow him to be Corbin Burns again moving towards the postseason. But, just 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position yesterday. 0 for 7. And it was a problem, too, on Saturday. Again, that's not a game that you nitpick because they lost, 7-1. It was a blowout, right? But there were plenty of opportunities early on Saturday. Plenty of chances for the Orioles, the first, second inning, to do something, to get going a little bit, and for that game to be a different story. Just not the case. Just not the reality of what's going on right now. And it's very frustrating, and I can't make anyone feel any better about it whatsoever. But they'll try again tonight as the Orioles head up to Boston to open up a series with the Red Sox, and that is what it is. All right, you want to take a break? Jeremy's scheduled to join us next. It's a fun, we're having a good time. Everybody's having a party. Yay! Today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box. That's Kyle Hamilton on the cover. Go get it for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Go get that print issue of Press Box today. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimore-golfacademy.com.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with two sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at ococean.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCRs. Continue along on a Monday edition of the program as Week 1 will wrap up tonight. Jets and 49ers. No Hassan Reddick for the Jets, not even on the roster, so he's not messing around with whatever his holdout is. Like, I always think to myself, like, dude, you're gonna play, right? Like, and get the money. Hassan Reddick said, nope, I'm not. So it's very bizarre. He is not even on the roster. So even if he decided today that he wanted to, he couldn't play for the Jets in Week 1 against the 49ers as they wrap up tonight. All right, it's Monday, so that means we need to catch up with our buddy Jeremy Conn, of course, ConcreteLocks.com, Big Bad Morning Show 105.7 The Fan. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing all right. When you said it was very bizarre, I wanted to go, how bizarre?
How bizarre.
Anyway.
I don't know why. One time, were you ever a regular at the piano bar?
Was that Howl at the Moon?
Yes.
Or was it a different one?
Howl at the Moon.
I've been in there a couple of times. The only time that I remember really being in there was when I first met my wife and we were dating, and one of the bartenders there was trying to pour shots down her throat and get her to lay on the bar.
Okay. Well,
and I had an issue with that. But
yeah, I get that.
Maybe.
I can understand that. I don't know why, but after I turned 21, like that was where we went for a while.
It's a cool spot, man.
It was the most fun you could ever have. It was incredible. And this is also this is predates like having music on your phone. So like music was still a big part of like the plans that you might make. It was still just a big deal to hear a song because you couldn't just hear songs whenever you wanted to hear them. So we spent like every weekend more or less. I have to also think that like one of my friends was dating somebody there, and they would like let us get away with murder. Like at one point they let me jump up and do the Ludacris rap from Yeah in the middle. It was great. But I was super hammered one night, and I think it was, I don't know, it was not a particularly crowded night. And I remember putting like a $100 bill and said, if you can play How Bizarre by OMC without having to look up the lyrics, you can have this. Wow. And it was just the most random, like, I don't know why I was that drunk that I would do something like that. And I remember,
so did they play it?
Well, no, we knew all the guys, and so he like shouted, he's like, Glenn, come up here, and he was like, what do you give me to play it without knowing all the lyrics? If I gotta go look
down the freeway in the hot sun.
I don't know why I love that song. That song was a great. God, what a great song that was.
Can I tell you my favorite musical experience out at a restaurant? It happened to be at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and I don't know if I've told you this story before, but we were caught relatively quickly. So I kind of dominated the touch tunes.
Okay.
And I was playing whatever song I wanted. So I played, mind you, Buffalo Wild Wings on a Tuesday night. Me and my buddy were the only two white guys there. So it was very easy to see who played this. I played Conway Twitty's Tight Fitting Jeans 11 times in a row.
Hell yeah.
It's a 2.5-minute song roughly. So and it kind of works when one goes off and the next one starts, because people are looking around the room and going, how long is this effing song? What the hell's going on? And then they see me at the end of the bar laughing. It's like, that's the a-hole right there.
Yeah. Hi, me. I'm the one. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm the guy. All right, so let's get into the important stuff. Am I to understand that we have a date? Like that this is happening?
Yeah, a week from today.
A week from
My
today.
birthday.
And Tim's in. Oh, happy birthday. And Tim's in. We're all good? Everything's lined up? Yes. I've seen your act before. You're acting like, I've seen your act over there.
Well, because I was confident, and now that the fact that you're like so.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure.
I talked to Tim, so like you're making me think like Tim's like a flaker now or something.
No,
and
not
I don't
at
know
all.
Tim as well.
I'm just trying to make sure that's the case. Now, Jeremy, have you?
Regardless of what happens, I'm willing to do the other parts, even if that doesn't work out.
Well, no. We got to do it all. We got to make sure it all happens. Griffin, are you on the costume? Are you?
Oh yeah, I guess I got to.
Yeah, we got it. See,
how are we?
Who? We'll figure it out between the three of us. Between the three of us, we'll figure it all out. You figure out how much a costume costs, and if we got to split it, I'll split it with Jeremy. We'll figure it all out.
Just let me know if you ordered it.
We'll figure.
It better be the right size too.
Oh yeah, get a nice medium. Please make sure that you do that. Secondarily, Jeremy, have you done the YouTube lessons yet?
No, it's going to be this week. Just to be brutally honest, with my website launching this past week,
listen to this guy. I got a website launching. I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to make money. This guy over here. All right, I just need you to do it for the kayfabe part of this. Like, I know you're not actually going to go through like full, I just need you to send us a video of you doing it we can.
My plan is, and I'll just tell you this. This is my plan. Is that I want to learn the Irish dance, and then I want to do it to a modern song, and then record that as well. So I'll record me practicing and going through the class.
All right.
And then get somebody record me dancing to, maybe it's How Bizarre. I do.
No. You're going to do the dance in here on Monday. That's part of the deal.
Oh, that's fine.
All right.
But I thought you guys wanted me to.
Well, I do. I want a video of you practicing, because the point was that we're supposed to take a lesson. So that's all. I just want a video of you practicing. That's all.
Well, it'd be very clear if I show up and I don't have anything down. It'd be very clear that I didn't take a lesson.
I don't know. I can practice certain things. I think I practiced my first dance at my wedding 10 times, and I still got there, and we had to call out the number. Like, all right, now it's time to do this.
1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3.
100%. That was the way that it worked. So next Monday, you say? Well, that'll be great. Imagine if the Ravens lose at home to the Raiders, and then we're like, let's have some fun on a Monday.
Oh my God! Yeah, they're the most heavily bet team this week.
Well, I can understand why. They're going up against Gardner Minshew. That's what it is. All right.
But the only thing I'd say about that, though, and I was saying something to Rob today, from a gambling standpoint and looking at the game. So I always try to find a way that the underdog can win or at least cover that spread. The only thing I can say is if you thought the offensive line looked bad against the Chiefs, I don't know how good they're going to look against the Raiders bookend pass rushers because they've got two dynamite ones and
that is
adding
true.
Christian Wilkins from the Dolphins. So that's the only way I see something going awry or just the Ravens forget how to play.
Yeah, that's not great. I don't like. It's such a weird thing from what happened last Thursday night, Jeremy. Like, I don't even know how to react to it because it's about right. Like, the offensive line was a mess, and that had a huge impact on the game. And yet, there they were, an inch away from having a chance to win it. And I don't know how to react. And yet, even if they had won, would we have really felt all that much better about their chances of doing it? This is such a joyless season for the Baltimore Ravens because everything is so based around, are you finally going to get something done in the playoffs? And no matter what you do, that's the way we're going to be talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, it always feels like when something weird happens in those games that it kind of goes against the Ravens. And this isn't me, talking about the refs or anything. Like Isaiah Likely's catch with the toe and it's out of bounds. What do we have with the Steelers? Antonio Brown catches one right on the line, and, of course, it just goes over to end the game years ago. And the Ravens had the situation where the Seahawks got 5 downs in a game, even though they still were able to stop them. But it's just, there's some things that you're looking at in today's world with, the Ravens, and everybody's trying to say, well, this isn't a rivalry and that's not a rivalry because of this. I mean, all 5 games that the Chiefs and Ravens have played, they've all been relatively close and kind of come down to the end of the game. It's just that, 15's wound up with more wins than losses.
That's correct. And that's what he does. He's really, really good. I think that's the frustrating part about all of this, man. I don't know. I'm worried about the offensive line, but also in some bizarro world, I also give them the benefit of the doubt that I don't think that it's going to be a 17-game issue. I think it's going to be an issue for the first month of the season. Maybe I do have faith in the Ravens and their drafting and their developing, and I don't think this will be their undoing this year either. This is so boring. I want to be the guy that's like, Lamar will never win the big one. I wish I could be that guy because it's so much better.
Yeah, but you don't want to be that guy.
But I can't, because it's nonsense. It's just.
Can I tell you who that guy is? He's waiting for the team to fail so he can say, hey, I was right.
Right.
And somebody would rather be right than root for their effing team.
Yeah,
and then they twist the narrative to make them right. So they don't show up. Let's say the Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl this year and Lamar's amazing in the postseason. They don't show up after that. All the Nick Wrights, all the talking heads, Shannon Sharp, the rest of these cats that constantly run their mouth about the team and this is what's wrong and that's what's wrong. They're not going to show up after the fact. Those people always go, well, this is what I wanted to see happen. I just wanted them to win, and I didn't think they could do it with this guy.
Right.
That's what bothers me. I mean, I dealt with this with the Peyton Manning stuff for the longest period of time. Can't win the big one, and I'm going, well, and then you move the goalpost after he does because he plays Rex Grossman in the Super Bowl. Anyway, I'm getting on a rant.
That didn't count. That one didn't count. But other than that, they can't win the big one. What is this?
Moving the goalpost.
100%, man. How about the at least? So in more pleasant news, boy, that Orioles offense though, huh? That is.
Oh man, I told this story on the air. I had a buddy that called me and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about betting the Orioles in this series this weekend against the Rays?" And I said, I don't like betting on them minus 200, even though I think they win the series. They didn't.
Right.
Just because the Tampa Bay Rays have a certain style that they play. It's really good pitching. You got to kind of either got to hit a home run or come through with runners in scoring position. They've been really good at it, and they don't score a lot of runs, so they kind of keep the games close. And you saw what happened. They scored runs on Saturday, but all the other games were really ugly.
Yeah, really, really ugly. I think the easy thing that everybody's been bringing up, and I'm on. I continued to defend Adley Rutschman hitting second because of the value of having a switch hitter behind Gunnar Henderson, but even I got to say I'm tapped out on it at this point. I'm not – maybe 2 weeks from now Adley Rutschman will be on a hot streak and everything's – I just don't think you can continue to try to force this or pretend like something's happening that's not happening. I don't think you can keep hitting Adley Rutschman second right now.
Do you think he's in a funk, or do you think there could be something wrong and he's playing through it?
I think that it's possible that it's either one, frankly. I don't know what it is. I really don't. And I don't obviously, he's been asked about it. He's not telling you anything. If there's something physically wrong, God bless him for going out there and trying. I'm not suggesting that you have to tell Adley Rutschman he's got to go sit down, right? Because what the hell would the alternative be? More James McCann?
James McCann?
I like James McCann, but he's not a better hitting option, right? if Adley Rutschman believes that he can play right now, you let him go out and play. But you can't. I don't think you can continue to pretend like something's happening that isn't. So I just don't think you can continue to hit him second in the lineup right now, because if Gunnar Henderson, who's now come alive again and looks like Gunnar Henderson, is getting on base, like, you've got to be able to take advantage of that with runs being at such a premium for this team.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I thought it was interesting when some of the media started asking Adley about his struggles, and he just kind of gave we're focused on the team making the playoffs. And then someone asked him again, and he goes, we're focused on the team making the playoffs. And look, it's fine if you're going to move past it and you're trying to let the media know that you don't want to talk about this. Like, there could be something else to it. But I kind of agree with you. Like, I didn't know that there were better options unless they tried to move Santander up to batting second, which I have no issue with. I know some people like the whole, hey, my power hitters have to bat 3 and 4.
Right.
And I mean, I think all that stuff's BS. And I think numbers have kind of shown it. Like, I want my 2 best hitters to get the most at bats in the game. And if you're batting first and second, that's something that happens. Like, there were people who are saying Gunnar shouldn't be batting leadoff. You need to drop him down to third, and we did. But he hit better at leadoff, and if Shohei Ohtani can do it, if Kyle Schwarber can do it, if Ronald Acuna Jr. can do it, Gunnar Henderson can definitely hit leadoff. Francisco Lindor is another one who was up for the MVP in the National League. He's not going to get it though. But like there's reasons why you want that guy to get the most at bats. But I still looking at this team right now is how it's assembled. They are either going to have to get hot at the right time and things just start clicking, or the only other thing that I see is they get healthy at the right time, and it just makes everything better. Because I do think they're really missing Westberg's bat in that lineup. From a simple standpoint of, like, he just grinds out at bats. Like, he takes pitches, he works, and he's a good hitter. He's a good player. So, and it's Ryan Mountcastle too. I think now you're asking Ryan O'Hearn to do more at first base and hit against lefties and things like that. I don't think people realize how important Mountcastle was.
No, that's all those things I agree are fair. Would you move Mullins up to the second spot?
Ooh, I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with it, but I think I kind of like where he's at, though. Like, I know it sounds silly because you got some guys at the bottom of the lineup that have speed, and I like that idea of Gunnar being able to come up with some of those guys on, and that's what I mean. He's driving those guys in. So whether it's from the third spot or first spot, he's still gonna do damage there.
All right. What else is going on in your world these days, man? What's happening with you?
Well, I mean, the website stuff's interesting. Like, I literally had a moment, and so on Sunday, it's obviously the busiest day of the year, and then, of course, people are signing up right at noon and right at 1 o'clock, and like, hey, where are your plays? And it's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. So I had one guy on Sunday say, hey man, I never got your coupon codes. I paid for everything earlier. And I'm like, no, I sent them in an email. He goes, no, they're not in that email. I'm telling you. Said, I'm looking at the email right. This is us going back and forth in separate emails. I'm looking at the email right now. Here are the 2 codes that I gave you. He goes, yeah, I still don't see it. These are the codes. I write them down. And he goes, those are the codes for what? I said, this can't be a real conversation I'm having with a human being. Yeah. So it turned into a frustrating day. I wasn't that bad in the NFL yesterday. I don't think I did well with our picks this week.
Oh, everybody did poorly in our league was a disaster.
I had a good week last week, and I think you did too.
Yeah.
But this week it's like I had. You were
2-7 this week, but so was basically everybody. I mean,
I was 2-7 as well.
Yeah, well, that's not a good comparison.
Well,
the best 2 people went 5-4, and that was the best anybody did this week in our league.
Yes, I'm not sweating that.
Yeah, you're.
But no, I'm just saying, like, it wasn't the type of. I had so many good calls, like Arizona, Tampa Bay. Who else did I have? I talked about Seattle, which, depending when you got the line, that was a push. I like the Chargers, but my favorite plays were the Steelers over. They kicked 6 effing field goals. I had the Colts, which they covered, and then the Rams were my lock. And as I just wrote to a bunch of the subscribers, like, there were 5 different outcomes in overtime, and only one of them we could lose. And the one of them happened.
Yeah, that was the one. Correct. Yep, exactly right.
So
exactly.
It hurts the first move.
Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm still bothered by the fact that we don't get the real overtime rules until it's not even from a betting thing. It's just from why do you want there to be less football? Like, that product is so good last night. Why do they want there to be less of it? They want to give us more games spare me the player safety thing. My God, like there's
especially after what you saw in Brazil.
Right. They're playing on a field that's not prepared to play football. Like this player safety thing is nonsense. Why are you trying to have there be less football? Like that last night was great. Everybody was enjoying it. 2 likable teams, the whole thing. It's fun for everyone involved. I get that we don't really want more, when we get to the end of the season and it's really bad, nobody's asking for more of it, but you don't make the rules based around that. Why is that a good thing for the NFL? Beyond the fact that it's an unfair way to determine the victor of a football game. Like, both sides, everybody always tries to say that. Well, both sides of the ball matter, your defense. Well, no, they don't both matter because Detroit's defense didn't have to do anything. Like, you don't get to have it where, well, both parts of the game matter. No, they don't. Because one team didn't have to put their other side of the team out there. So why I'm so befuddled by why is it that they want less football when we're all watching, the ratings are through the roof, everybody's enjoying it, and would continue to watch if after the Lions score, the Rams get the ball back and we go down and keep playing.
You know, it's funny. Like, I still go back to when people said that Bills and Chiefs game was the greatest football game they've ever seen in their life, but we need to change this rule.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute. Was it the best game and you just didn't like how it ended in overtime? Like, I was pretty pissed off because, as I looked at overtime, if you watch the whole fourth quarter, it was the Lions moving up and down the field on the Rams to come back after the Rams had taken the lead, and game-tying field goal. And then, of course, the Rams defense out there on the field all fourth quarter, they win the coin toss. And I'm like, they're going to run this right down their throat. And sure enough, they did. But that's the pessimist in me, too, when it goes to overtime. I'm like, we only got one out that can cause us to lose, and that's the one I got.
Yep. That's the nature of it. That's the way that it goes.
Did you get to watch any of the new announcers? I think McCoy was getting dragged.
Oh,
for
God,
doing the
I
Colorado
did.
game.
He was not good on Saturday. And it wasn't helped by the fact that, like, people aren't really familiar with Paul Burmeister. He just doesn't do games much. So, like, I just don't think there was a comfort level. Colt McCoy was not good, and obviously the voice is squeaky, and that part was trouble.
Same thing with Tom Brady. He was awful.
So I was watching Red Zone for the late games yesterday. So with that game being such a blowout, I ended up not getting much of it. Like on the Red Zone channel, I got way more Washington. By the way, here's also a wild card. My 9-year-old hates the Red Zone channel. My 9-year-old, who's obsessed with like he loves watching football. He loves watching, like, he's all in. I came home yesterday and I put the Red Zone channel on, and he said, "Dad, I only want to watch one game." And I said, "What? Like, isn't this supposed to be for young people? Like, isn't that for the people whose attention
you get
span
all the action.
right
It's
is
like,
of a gnat?" And I said, "Why do you only want to watch one game?" He said, "It's just too much. I want to watch one game, and I want to pick who I'm rooting for and root for them." I'm like, "Well, first of all, the only
you know what? That makes sense though.
Like-
Kind of like, but I get it being hard. Like, it's kind of like watching TV with me. If we're not watching something specifically, I'm a channel flipper.
Right.
So if we have a movie on, I'm watching the movie. If we're watching a TV show, but like if you walk into the room and we haven't discussed what we're going to watch, I'll be the guy flipping the channel every 10 minutes.
I guess I get. I was so. I'm like, dude, you get to watch all of the games this way. It's great.
Yeah.
And he was not having it. Like, he was very. I said, buddy, the only game we'd be allowed to watch would be Washington Tampa. You don't want to watch that. And he said, "Yeah, I do. Let's watch it." I said, "All right, pal."
Well, I mean, as long as if he's into it, that's the cool part. You know,
I did not
watching
get.
games with your son.
I didn't get to watch enough of Tom Brady to have like. I saw everything that everybody was saying, and I heard a little bit of it, and it didn't do much for me. But I need to watch more of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm assuming he'll get better. He knows football. It's not saying that. I'm not a fan of his voice. I do think his personality came out more when he left New England, but it was very dry yesterday, and there was a lot of time where he just wasn't talking, and it was like background noise for the crowd, where you're going, "You gonna say something or not?"
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I just thought it was bad.
That takes a minute. That takes a minute for you to get adjusted to. All right, brother, what's coming up this week?
I mean, a lot of cool stuff. We're going to talk to some of the people in the front office of the Orioles this week leading into it, and then obviously a lot about the Raiders. This is a game where you got a team coming off the West Coast that's coming all the way here on their second road game. Like, this should be, MC Hammer Puffy Pants time. But again, I don't know why it gives me pause looking at the number and saying, hey, something seems a little fishy here.
No, I get it. I do get the offensive line is particularly like, we'll talk about it throughout the course of the week. All right. At JCon Sports on Twitter, and ConcreteLocks.com is the website. Love you, brother. Appreciate you. I can't wait. I'm so excited about next Monday. Looking forward to having you in here for that. All right, buddy.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. All right. What did we not cover during the course of these 2 hours? What did we not discuss? I feel like... Oh, the Whip Snakes are on to the championship. Yeah. They're going to play the Archers.
Go Whips, baby.
Bad news is it is the middle of the Ravens game on Sunday.
Darn it.
Not great.
What time is it, like 2 or something?
It's either 2 or 3. I don't remember. Yeah, like...
catch the fourth quarter, maybe? Well, no, I guess we probably won't catch any.
Project Game Day. Yeah. Project Game Day. Here, quickly, while I look it up, you tell everybody, remind everybody what's going on at Live Casino.
Well, over at Live Casino Hotel, this season, every time that the Baltimore football or the Washington football team scored a touchdown during home games, Live Rewards members will receive $7 in free slot play. That's right, $7 for touchdowns at Baltimore or Washington home games. You must have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into any slot machine and be actively playing in order to receive the prize. But once they score, that $7 will populate for you, and it is valid for slot play only. It is at Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
3 o'clock. Gotcha. 3 o'clock for the championship on Sunday. The Whip Snakes taking on the Archers after some more late drama in the semifinals as they beat New York in order to advance to the championship. Congratulations to the Whips. What is the person that's talking about Manhattan clam chowder what is that?
I don't know.
What were we discussing that would have come up?
I don't know. So he has thrown out soups couple days.
I do enjoy soup. If is it like on the table? Is he offering to bring us some soup?
I don't know, but he said something like I can't remember which day it was, but it was something like cream of crab, Glenn. And that
I'm
was
all
the only
in.
thing, and I was like,
I love cream of crab.
I don't know what.
Who is that? That's not John. It's not Johnny O. Johnny O.
No, I don't think it's Johnny.
It's not the same Johnny O.
Maybe it is. I don't know. 35.
Johnny, I don't know what the story is. I'm a soup man. I love soup. And it's soup season, obviously. We've reached that point of the year.
Soups are good.
I just went out I was just at Costas Inn enjoying actually, I got a bowl of cream of crab on Saturday, which was aggressive. Like, in hindsight, I didn't need a bowl. But I was like, I love the Costas Inn cream of crab. So I was about to order my cup of cream of crab, and I said, how about a bowl? How about we go all in today? Tell me more. Do you want to do a soup show? Is that what it is? Because I'm also
consume soup.
I'm also not opposed, or no, just a weekly soup show, like a show about soup.
Oh,
soup news.
I mean, I'm already getting hungry right now, so like
soup.
I'm craving soup.
Trying new soups.
Yeah, as long as we're actively eating soup, I'll do it. Yeah,
I did order the Coke Oreos and Oreo Coke for Rita and I to try on Wednesday.
There's an Oreo Coke.
Yeah, there's an Oreo Coke. Maybe we'll try that tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll like let Arthur Millette be a part of I'm into it. Maybe we'll do both. Maybe we'll save the Oreos for Wednesday and try the Coke tomorrow. I don't know which one's getting here because one of them I got to pick up. The other one I had to order, or it's being delivered.
If I see the Pop-Tarts I was telling you about.
But did you confirm if they're new? They have to be new.
Why do they have to be new?
Because that's the rule for.
What if you just haven't done it?
That's not. Then it's a different thing. I'm into it is about new things. It's about new items. It's about the things that people may not have tried yet, may not have heard of, anything like that. We're the taste makers, Griffin. So we could do. What are the Pop-Tarts were? Pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
I think I looked it up to try to see if they were new, and I found out.
Now I want them for myself.
Well, I mean, I'm not. Look, man. The question is, what do they taste like with Old Bay? That's the thing that you and I were supposed to be doing for content. This is where losing Carson really hurt us.
Well, we had just so much to talk about that.
Carson was good at keeping us focused on doing internet content.
Yeah.
And that was a good bit for us. Just put Old Bay on things and try. That was a good bit. That was good internet content. But then I stopped. All right, here's you're going to learn something about me, Glenn Clark.
Apparently it's not new. They're just a fan favorite, and they're back for the fall season.
Yeah, we get that all the time. A lot of things come back for the fall. They disappear, and then they come back again for the fall. Me, Glenn Clark, we used to be really good at having interns at all times. This is straight shoot reality of it. I want an intern that wants to be here. I'm not pursuing you. You're not the hot chick, as my friend Oscar used to say. You're not. You're not the one that everybody's after. You want to be here? Pursue us. We'd love to have you. But I'm not doing the bit. I don't know when this changed. I was having a conversation with this. Like, that young people think that they're supposed to be pursued. I will hear this from some. You didn't follow up with me. Did you want the internship? Are you out of your... What? It's not going to work that way. I'd love to have you. I want you here. And I do think the young people offer a lot. Griffin's a bad young person. We've been through this a few times.
Well,
he doesn't fit the young person role nearly well enough. Sorry. And also, you don't know young people things. Whenever I bring in questions from trivia about young people things,
well,
you couldn't even be our resident young person. By the way, Mike, I brought in my cousin. I brought in my cousin to be the new resident young person on the team, and even he's not a good resident young person. He does
so
know
many
more
things.
random things. I need more. He did get a Harambe question right one week though, so he had that going.
I can get a Harambe question.
I don't think you would have. It was in the question was like in 2016. This term, which is Swahili for...
Oh, you're right. I remember you actually asked
yeah.
this to me.
And you didn't get it.
No, I got it.
No, you didn't.
No. I think I got it.
I don't remember if you got it or not. I think you might have gotten it like on the second bounce. I think you might have been like...
I had the Angel Reese putback,
Right. That's a bummer, too. Angel Reese season's done. That sucks. Anyway, my point being, I am... still in the market for interns. I would say I'm constantly in the market. I hear that all the time. Like, well, when are you looking for interns? Always. If you think you can add something and you're going to get something from it, we want to have you. But I'm not doing the bit where, like, if I don't, I'll get this all the time. Well, dude, I emailed you and I never heard back. You know how many times I would email someone when I wanted to go work there? You know how many times I would call, pick up the phone, call, text? I'm sorry. We're busy. What's going on over there? You think it's that one?
Yes.
You think it's that one? Doesn't seem great.
Like when I hold it here.
I don't know if it's over the air or if it's just us. I don't know. Anyway, the moral of the story being, pursue it. Pursue it. And if you don't, all good. All good. But I'm not pursuing you, man. I did that in my life. I pursued women. I'm 40. I'm not pursuing interns. It's not going to work that way. And somebody's going to say, well, but that's a very old man-ish thing to say. Yeah, you're right. It is. That's the reality. It is. But that's who I want. I want those people. If they want to be here, come reach out. Drive over one day. Stalk Griffin. Show up at his house.
Wow.
Sit in his car. Yeah, these are the appropriate things that you should do if you want to get an internship.
Proctor said he's rooting for the Archers.
Why?
He's a jerk.
Why the hell? What the hell is that? What? What the hell is that? Oh, because he does like Archer, right? Never mind.
No, that's not a good excuse.
No, it's a bit. He's not actually rooting for Utah. He just loves Archer. It's true. I did once pursue Spider-Man 3 over a woman. And that first Lord of the Rings movie. Those two things did happen.
If it was Spider-Man 2, I could have given it to you. Spider-Man 3 did not.
It is the darkest.
Really.
It is the darkest story I can ever tell, and I can't even be as specific as I would like to be in telling the story. It was surefire, coitus with a very attractive stranger, surefire in the bag, in the bag. Like, not one of those, like, oh, we were flirting. No. Like, very direct. Like, this is where your evening is going to go if you'll stick around. But nope. My buddy and I had tickets to a midnight screening of Spider-Man 3.
That is a tough...
And we weren't missing that.
It's a tough...
We were hanging out. His girlfriend had a friend. It was a whole thing. It was on. We were in a hot tub. It was a whole thing.
And you were like...
And I swear to God, I looked at him. I said,
"Oh, we gotta go."
But dude, I want to see Spider-Man 3, and he said back, "So do I." Now it was different for him. It was his girlfriend. Like, the coitus was still going to be there. He gets back from Spider-Man 3, and he's like, "I had to watch emo Peter Parker. She can make him feel better." Like, that's the way it's gonna go. For me, it was a one and done. It's either happening or it's not happening. Do you want to coitus? And I said, no. I want to go watch Topher Grace because that's the man that I am. That's the decision making that I have in my life. And so that's what I did. And I remember I'd still, even like halfway through the movie, I was still holding out. Like, this is good, right? Like, I'm enjoying.
This was the right decision.
I'm not going to think about this for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life.
I mean, yes. Well, so I'm going to use this as a cautionary tale, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
Use it as a cautionary tale. Don't go see Spider-Man 3. If the choice is coitus or Spider-Man 3, choose the coitus.
I do like Spider-Man.
I love Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's great.
And there's a new Miles Morales Spider-Man movie coming out. Is it ever coming out? My kids keep asking me. The first one came out like a year and a half ago. What is going on with the second part of that?
I guess, I mean, maybe we'll wait another 5 years or whatever.
That's very annoying.
But if it's going to be,
I hear
10 out of 10.
I hear you.
I guess it is what it is.
All right, what are we doing? Tidbit, right?
You want to talk about the tennis, I guess? I don't know.
Nah, I don't need to talk about that. You're not ready for Tidbit? Is that what you're doing? You're saying? Is that what this is?
I mean,
Yannick Sinner won as I expected. Arena
ready
Sabalenka. They were once we got to the end of week 1, Yannick Sinner was the overwhelming favorite. It was going to take a miracle. It's a bummer that Francis Tiafoe didn't win the semifinal. He was up 2-1. Even making the final would have been massive for him.
He'll be back.
It's a miracle that Francis Tiafoe has been in this position now a couple of times. I'm not confident that he'll be back. The other thing, too, is that the way that Yannick Sinner just took all the drama out of it, like, I said that maybe the story of this U.S. Open should be a reminder that it's not just going to be the haves and have-nots in the next era of tennis the way it has been for the last 15, 20 years. But, let's see, because perhaps we're just going to be replacing Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer with Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz moving forward. And we'll see. They still have to prove that definitively. Like, to this point, Yannick Sinner's won 2 slams. Carlos Alcaraz has won 3. Like, it's not like they've run away with things. But I expect it to be more of a wide open coming, 10 years. But that's still got to be proven, and not just these are going to be the 2 guys, and they're going to win all of these, and they're going to take all the air out of the room. We'll have to find that out. But dominant, obviously, and Arena Sabalenka is amazing. So, bummed for Jessie Pegula, who showed some fight, but ultimately didn't have it in her to try to get that to a 3rd set. All right, tidbit.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what we got?
All right, so this one comes from Jack McGuire. He works for Barstool. There are only 2 quarterbacks.
By the way, you think I don't know? It's Proctor over here like that one last year was the second Spider. No, it was part 1. Yes, it was the second Spider-Verse movie that came out, but that's exactly what it was. Number 2, part 1. There's a part 2 that they said was going to come out this year, and it's now September 9th, and we still don't even have a release date for part 2, which doesn't seem great to
Again,
me.
if it's going to be a fantastic movie,
I get very nervous when they announced a 2-part series, and here we are.
I mean, that
and we
was
still
what
don't
happened
know.
last time, too. What do you
mean? That's what happened last time.
We also thought the next one was going to come out, I don't know, like a year.
But that's
less
different.
than 2
It's
years.
a completely different story. They have to finish the story from the last film. It veers dangerously close to the Lord of the Rings thing. I accepted it because they told us it was part 1, right? Like, we knew going in that we weren't getting everything cleaned up in this one. But you're asking for a lot, because now it's been a little while, and I barely remember it. Like, this should not be taking this long to get
Dune
part
panned
2
out
of
pretty
it.
good.
Those are part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, those are part 1s and part, and it took a while for part 2, and I was down on after part 1, and part 2 was pretty good. Part 2 was pretty good. This is It's a tough year. I'm trying to figure out how to rank movies this year. Because it's either Dune Part 2 or Twisters 1 right now.
It's in that movie is deep after
for 2024. All right, do you want?
Go ahead.
Okay. 2 quarterbacks.
Apparently, recording, like the voice acting, hasn't even been recorded yet.
I mean, if that means because they're still like trying to make sure the script is right, like I mean,
just go.
I have faith. I trust them since the first 2 were like grand slams, 9th inning grand. Like these were.
But the part 1 part didn't that's the problem with it. It doesn't stand alone. It doesn't. It needs.
I mean, I guess knowing because I know that there is going to be a part 2. So
I know, and that's why I was willing to put up with it because it was fun. I still enjoyed it, but I needed a part 2, and I needed that part 2 not to have to be something. It's not worth it to me if I have to wait years to get the completion of a movie. That's not okay. You're asking for too much.
Still was a movie.
It was a movie, but it didn't. All right, let's just do the thing. Do the thing. Come on.
I'm still a fan of it. Modern NFL history. 2 quarterbacks have attempted over 25 passes in their debut and threw for less than 100 yards. So someone did this yesterday. In their NFL debut, they
threw for
less than 100 yards.
So
yesterday it was
Bo Nix?
No, it's not Bo Nix.
Oh, it was Dre. No. Wait. Oh, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
Wait a second.
For less than 100
well,
yards.
you forget because they won.
Yeah.
Right?
He was 14 for 29, I think.
Yeah.
For 93 yards. And then the only other quarterback to do this, I guess it would have been 22. Yeah, 2022 would have been his rookie year. So in his debut, it was Desmond Ridder.
Oh.
This is the list that Caleb Williams joins.
Not
Desmond
great.
Ridder.
Not
Desmond
great.
Ridder. Yeah, so not ideal. Then the other one, I'll do the Orioles one last. We'll do Deshaun Watson, 169 passing yards, with over 45 pass attempts.
Say that one more time.
He had 169 passing yards yesterday. He had over 45 passing attempps. He had
it's grotesque.
Yeah, it was not good.
God.
He is tied for the 6th fewest in the Pro Football Reference database for quarterbacks with 45 with at least 45 pass attempts. Can you name any guys that are in the top 10?
So how would I
Okay, number 1, he had 123 yards on a 46 pass attempt day.
I mean, that's insane, but I have no recollection of it.
He did it in 2022 as player in division.
Oh, yeah, Proctor says bowler. He doesn't normally get that many pass attempts. In division, in his division or in this?
So this was the 2021 season because he did it like week 17 of 2021.
17 of 2021.
Yeah, in the Ravens.
The Ravens. Kenny Pickett.
Not Kenny Pickett. You got the right team though.
Trying to remember who was the crap quarterback for the Mason Rudolph.
Not Mason Rudolph. You're overthinking it.
Overthinking it. It was still Roethlisberger.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Big Ben had 46 pass attempts for 123 yards in week 17 that year. He had 139 yards on 48 pass attempts in October of 2006. Bruce Gradkowski.
Oh, okay. All right.
I guess just go one by one here for Scott Mitchell.
If you tell me the team, I might be able to guess it.
Well, some of these names I don't recognize, and I don't know what team.
For God's sakes. Then it's all right. Then let's not do this. Get to something else.
All right. Scott Mitchell had 158 in 1997. Jim Hart, 163 yards. Okay. John Haddle, Kirk Cousins.
All right. Get to something else.
All right, and then it was with Gunnar hitting his 36th home run over the weekend. He and now Anthony Santander became the third Orioles duo to each have 36 home runs in a season. Can you name the 2 other instances when the Orioles had teammates with at least 36 home runs in a season?
Well, that's funny because I don't specifically remember them. I guess I would start with, was one of them Brady Anderson?
Brady Anderson was involved, yes.
Okay, so the other one was Rafael Palmeiro?
It was. What year?
96?
It was 96. Brady hit 50. Rafa hit 39.
Rafa? Is that what you're going with for Rafael Palmeiro? We're making him Rafa.
What else would I call him?
Well, they called him Rafi. Or
okay.
Rafi, actually, is what they called him. It was Rafi, not Rafi. Rafi. And then was one of them Chris Davis?
Yes, Chris Davis was involved. In fact, 3 players hit over 36 Yeah, had over 36 home runs.
3 players did. So one of them was Manny Machado.
Manny Machado had 37. Davis had 38. And this guy had 47.
Third, Nelson Cruz.
Not Nelson Cruz.
The third was, because it wasn't 2014, it was 20. Was it Mark Trumbo?
It was Mark Trumbo, yes.
Okay.
So what year?
That was 16?
It was. 2016, Trumbo, Davis, and Manny. And then Santander and Henderson in 24.
How about that? All right, let's get tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, let's wind down. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular. As I mentioned, Orioles open the series in Boston against the Red Sox. Cade Povich goes against Brian Bayo. First pitch, 7:10 on Masson. Maryland soccer takes on San Diego State tonight, 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. And, of course, Monday Night Football, Jets, 49ers, 8:15 on ESPN and ABC. And there is a Manning cast for tonight on ESPN2. Other baseball today, MLB Network, Cubs, Dodgers, late on for MLB Network. It's also live on ESPN Plus. Fox Sports 1, Angels, Twins, 7:40. The USA Network for WWE, Monday Night Raw tonight at 8. Anything non-sports-wise?
Yes, there was a few. I thought English teacher, an episode of that. Did you?
I did watch the second episode. It got better. It's better. Better.
Okay.
I'll watch more.
Season 16 finale of American Ninja Warrior. So if you want to watch that,
but
instead of Monday Night Football,
yeah.
Keegan-Michael Key will be on Jimmy Kimmel. He is in the new Transformers movie, Transformers 1.
I didn't know we were still doing that.
So it's an animated Transformers movie,
and
so he does one of the voices. He's Bumblebee.
I'm stunned that that's still a thing that we're.
Chris Hemsworth is Optimus Prime.
Sure, why not? What am I supposed to say?
Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe will be on Seth Meyers.
Okay,
they have a podcast, so
they're married.
And that too.
They're a couple.
Yeah.
That's
I guess that was it. So yeah, really nothing actually.
All right, very good. Very good. You're watching baseball and football anyway. All right, thanks today to Mike Golic Jr., thanks to Brian Anderson, thanks to Femi Ayanbadejo, and thanks as well to Jeremy Conn. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program Mike Pereira is going to join us. We will talk about the illegal formation stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, Griffin said, I got Mike Pereira on the. I'm like, what?
Pereira.
I think he's Brazilian all of a sudden. Everything's Brazilian now because Jeremy's coming in and doing
MMA.
his Brazilian penalty. Bizarro world, man. Anything else?
The Orioles, and we'll be catching up with
Kerry Watson from the Orioles.
Yes.
Well. All right.
Stuff and things. Joe Serpico.
All right, yeah. We got to look ahead to waiver wire Wednesday.
Forgot who I'm spending all my fab on.
Yeah, was there anybody that was a hot...
Isaiah Likely?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think he's available. If you're playing with Ravens fans, he's probably not available, but maybe.
Guess Xavier Worthy if he didn't get drafted, but
all right.
He's probably drafted.
All right, very good. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, the Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise, Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, the Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. What am I doing? I was thinking about Tuesday's show. Monday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.